What's up, sports fans? It's your man D back, speaking mind sports talk. All right, check it out, man. Kell Brook, Crawford, aftermath. Of course, we had a lot of other fights last night too. We're gonna talk about some of those. Young Shakur Stevenson with his first shot at training in the corner, giving instructions. He did a really good job. We're gonna talk about that a little bit too. Josh Greer performance after his second loss of his career. Um, we'll talk about all of that, but definitely this Terence Crawford Brook fight. So, Ma the Machine, first up. What's good with you, Ma? Appreciate the sliding through, brother. Miguel Robes, what's up, big man? Appreciate you. Salute to you. DJ Big Leg said, what's up, D-Chat? Brooks' punch resistance was non-existent. Good wear, but Brook is done. Who's next then? Hopefully Spence, not Pac-Man. Yeah, well, both of those guys are rushing after Pac-Man because let's be honest, DJ Big Leg, that's a big money fight. And he holds a trinket, a belt that they both need. So if he gets Pacquiao, look, Spence was going after Pacquiao first. So I ain't gonna blame Crawford for going after Pacquiao first. That's the reality of it. Spence said that he wanted Pacquiao. You know what I mean? So he was going after Pacquiao first. I don't blame Crawford if he gets to that race first. And I think that it'll be more interesting if Crawford. I want Crawford and Pacquiao. Even though Spence is my guy, I would like to see him with 3 belts. I get all of that. I want Crawford to get that fight. Now, Pacquiao's team may actually, we'll get into that later. We'll make sure you bring that up again later, DJ Big Leg. Hey, well, Ice, what's good with your fam? Appreciate you coming through. Ralph Unreal in the building. What's good, Ralph? Easy work for Bud. Told you he's too good. Man, get out of here, Ralph. It ain't about him being too good. He was too good anyway. Even if Brook won't weight drain, I'm still picking Bud to win that fight. And that's for sure. Even if he won't weight drain, I'm still going to pick Bud to win that fight. But the fact that he was weight drained made the job a lot easier. And if you can't accept that, Ralph Unreal, then hey, look, I don't know what to tell you, brother. Get this smoke. What's good with your fam?
Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up, man? How you doing?
Shit, same old, man. Get ready to uh get on this Kell Brook, Terence Crawford situation. Which I mean, look, man, respect the Bud Crawford. He went in there, and to me, he looked like Bud Crawford. Problem is, he was fighting a guy named Kell Brook that just didn't look like Kell Brook. A lot of these Crawford fans and slash Spence haters ain't gonna want to accept or admit that, but that's just the case. That is just the case. He won't ready. I mean, he won't physically ready for this fight, man. Kell Brook won't physically ready for this fight. His face was it was obvious when you seen his face before this fight in the dressing room, before they put all that oil on his face. Bro, he was pale. His face was somewhat sunken. You could tell that this dude was drained down. And if you couldn't see that, then I don't know what to tell you. What's up, Brian?
What up, D? What up, Smoke? Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Yeah, what's up? Okay. Yeah, he was drained. His punch resistance wasn't there. Everything, like, is anyone really surprised that Terence Crawford beat him?
No.
Like, no. The fashion he beat him maybe might surprise people because I know a lot of people are saying it may go lit,
Yeah, it's the speed. It was just the speed at which he beat him.
Yeah. It was the one punch. It was just the one punch, like basically knocked or stoppage. He caught him with that short. He caught him with that short right hook. Half jab, half hook shot, and after that, the fight was over. So there was it wasn't really much of a test. Um, all I got to say about Bud Crawford, he's 33 years old. He has to start fighting. He has to start fighting some of those top fighters.
Yeah, Iceman said he looked 50 in the face. I know, right, Iceman? And then here's something that people got to question themselves.
He also looked like he colored his hair too.
Yeah, look, this is something people got to ask themselves when it comes to this Brook situation. Or not Brook, but with Crawford. Who have we seen? Any of Crawford fights, right? Who have we seen him hurt like that with that type of jab? No one. You can go back to Crawford's fight
No one.
and ask yourself, who has he hurt like that with that type of jab? No one.
Nobody.
He has
No
hurt
one.
absolutely no one with that type of fucking jab to the face. But now a Brook who has proven to be tough. Look at the punches he took from GGG. Look at the punches he took from Spence. Look at the punches he's been taking at 154. So this is a guy that has proven to be tough. Gets wobbled with a jab like that. Come on, people. Come on. What are we talking about here, fam?
Yeah.
This is boxing, baby. This is boxing, so we got to keep it boxing. And the facts are, man, two things we saw that was totally out of character. We have never seen Brook get wobbled with a punch like that. And we've never seen Terence Crawford wobble anybody with a punch like that. These are two things we've never seen before from either fighter. And you guys want to sit here and say that someone's being overly critical or hating or call it what you want. Brook was severely weight drained. Crawford was going to win anyway. I think that Crawford was the type of fighter. The Brook that fought Kell Spence. I think Crawford was still the type of fighter to beat him, even though people are questioning Crawford. So I'm not questioning Crawford in that aspect. But the punch he hurt the guy with to basically end the fight. We've never seen that from either fighter. We've never seen Crawford land that type of punch and hurt someone. We've never seen Brook take that kind of punch and be hurt. You know why? Because Brook's never been stopped.
Yeah. If you look at the Brook that fought Errol Spence Jr., that guy was full confidence, full self-belief. The fighter who fought Terence Crawford last night, he was hesitant. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't, everything just felt off. He wasn't that Kell Brook of 10 years ago when he fought Sean Porter. He wasn't that confident, cocky, young dude who didn't give a shit about anybody's reputation. He wasn't that. He looked fearful last night. He looked timid. He looked intimidated by Bud Crawford. Not the same guy. And anyone who doesn't realize that this was not the same man who stepped into the ring with Errol Spence Jr., not the same man who stepped in the ring with Sean Porter, I think you're lying to yourself. Nowhere near that guy, because that young man, I've watched a lot of his young career, Kell Brook, be on this side of the pond. I watched a lot. He was a cocky young fighter. He was very cocky. He had self-belief in himself. This guy didn't have it. That, you know what I mean? Like, nowhere near. So that's pretty much.
Yeah. I just look, man. Again, this ain't about no damn Terence Crawford hate, and I know that a lot of people are going to say this is about Terence Crawford hate. It's not, man. It's not. It's just Bud Crawford. Before the Brook fight, I said Bud Crawford has to step up, do something more at 147, and I suppose that this Brook fight was sort of like Yurioka's Gamboa fight for Devin Haney. This was supposed to mean something. Well, it don't, man. It don't. It doesn't mean that he proved anything. Like, okay, we can give Terence Crawford respect for his performance in the ring. We can do that. All right. Look, Ralph. Okay. I'm gonna reroute this thought. Ralph, he said it was more of a straight, not a right, not a jab. Okay, Ralph,
It was a check hook. Is actually the punch it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
It came in as a jab, but it left as a hook. Yeah.
Yeah, it left as a hook. But listen, okay, so Ralph, just tell me this. When have you seen Crawford wobble somebody with that type of punch? Because even still, bro, it wasn't the type of punch that you wobble a guy like Kell Brook with, Ralph. That's what you got to understand. It doesn't even matter, bro. Like, we know Crawford is a good boxer, so his performance is going to be Crawford's performance. When has he not performed that way? So I'm not going to get all crazy about Crawford's performance, but what I'm not going to do, because I said Jeff Horn, Jose Benavidez, Amir Khan, and Jesus Kavalauskas, he still had to do more. So this fight with Brook, that's not doing more. If this is what you Crawford fans want, for me to say that this is the fight, okay, he's finally done more. No, he has not, because he's fought a guy that was severely weight drained. And as a Crawford fan, you have to understand that. This is not more than a Egidius Kavalauskas. Did you see the punches that Egidius Kavalauskas took before Terence Crawford stopped him? This is not a Jeff Horn. Did you see the amount of punishment Jeff Horn took before the referee pulled in a mercy stoppage? Because he didn't knock Jeff Horn slam out. The ref was like, look, that's just enough. Man, this Kell Brook wouldn't have took not even half the punches that fucking Jeff Horn took in that Crawford fight. I would have had him laid out on the fucking canvas if he'd have placed that kind of punishment on Kell Brook, which is why the referee jumped in there so he wouldn't be laid out on the fucking canvas. You people need to stop this nonsense.
Yeah, can I just say something real quick? Real quick.
Right after you, Unbiased, I want to go. If I can go after you.
Yeah. So I mean, when I was watching the fight, I thought Kell Brook was winning the fight. So it's hard for me to say that his punch resistance wasn't there because he didn't look like he wasn't taking Crawford's punches. The shot that he got hit with, he just didn't see because it came in as a jab. But again, he turned it into a hook. So how it hit him was flush on the button. It turned his lights out because he didn't see it coming in from that angle. So, I mean, and I had Kell Brook winning. And that's me being unbiased as a Crawford fan. The takeaway from this fight, even before this fight, I said, look, it's Kell Brook. He's, this isn't Kell Brook before he fought Triple G. I didn't give Earl Spence much credit for beating Kell Brook, so I'm not giving Crawford much credit for beating Kell Brook either. That's pretty much my stance on it. He just won at the end of the day.
You know what? I'm gonna to put this fight into perspective. Let's go back to the Speak Your Mind time machine when you had a live on the news that Aaron lists Crawford's options of Brook, Thurman, Porter, or Ugas. Right? You remember that live? And everybody, it was just like, you know what? I'm looking at that list, and it's gonna be Kell Brook. That's who he's gonna fight next. And everybody was like, nobody wants to see that fight. Why? Because you know what's going to happen. Yeah. And that was, months ago. Before the fight was announced, they were still talking about Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Even after the fight, they're talking about Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about Pacquiao again.
Well, I don't mind that. See, this is the thing, man. I do not mind Crawford going after Pacquiao because these Spence fans gotta understand something. What the fuck is Spence doing? Both of these guys want that big money fight, fam. And then Pacquiao holds a belt also, right? It's a big money fight and he holds a belt. So I don't mind not one bit Terence Crawford trying to beat Spence to the punch to that Pacquiao. Because why should he just let Spence have a third fucking belt? Like, why? This is the thing that I criticize Deontay Wilder about with the Charles Martin situation. Why are you letting AJ chase down all the belts? Why aren't you getting in there and chasing down the belts? So, look, I'm not going to go against Terence Crawford for that because everything works in Terence Crawford's favor snatching that belt off of Manny Pacquiao because he gets, look, all of this 50-50 talk and A-side, B-side. Man, if Terence Crawford comes in as a unified welterweight champion versus Spence, unified welterweight champion, number 1 and 2, it's a 50-50 fight. It's a 50-50 fight. Make the fight happen. And then Spence has nowhere else to go if Terence Crawford beats Manny Pacquiao. So I'm all for Terence Crawford.
I'm with you.
Hold on, right quick, Smoke. Let me holler out some people that just stepped in the chat. Can't ask what's up. Shiz Biz, Joe, Jose in the building. Ken Kenshi, Silver, what's up with you? Craig Smith, Nick Harmer, Steven, what's up? What's up? Esther Boy, what's up? What's up with you guys? Appreciate you. Tay popped in, my son. Tay Powell in the building. What's up? Don Ramon, what's good with you? JB, my brother JB in the building. All right, go ahead, Smoke.
Yeah, so I agree with you all the way up until you were saying that Terence Crawford gets to be 50-50 because of Manny Pacquiao's pay-per-view numbers, right? Those are still going to be Manny Pacquiao.
I didn't say nothing about no fucking pay-per-view numbers, Smoke. Don't stop putting words in my fucking mouth.
No, I know you didn't say it, right? But I'm
all right, well, don't leave that shit after my comment, bro. That's where the fucking argument starts. Don't fucking put no pay-per-view. I don't give a fuck about no pay-per-view, Smoke.
It's not. You don't have to get that heated. It's not that big a deal. Hold on a second. If Terence Crawford and Terence, I'm assuming that Terence Crawford is going to be fighting Manny Pacquiao on pay-per-view, right? So the idea that he beats Manny Pacquiao, right? I don't think that raises him to the level of 50-50. Although I agree with you that I want Terence Crawford to fight Manny Pacquiao, and that would make the fight more likely to happen, right? But if you're saying it's 50-50 because it's a split of the belts, okay, fine. It's not about the pay-per-view numbers, but that's cool. I was just going. For me, the belts don't really make it the 50-50 fight. It's really the numbers that he does. But that's really neither here nor there. The point is, if he gets the Pacquiao fight, I'm not mad at him. I want him to have the Pacquiao fight, because that raises the stakes.
Hold on, right quick, Brian. I'm gonna respond to this.
However, Bob Arum has been doing this whole here's the fight that we want to get, and then sliding in somebody like a Kell Brook or Green Machine was a mandatory. But the idea that you're going to fight these lesser guys while you tout these big fights, I need to see more effort to actually making the fight instead of making the headline.
No, I agree.
Okay, yeah. Hold on, Brian. Hold on, because I'm going to respond to this. First and foremost, yes, I agree with all of that shit, but I'm going back to this 50-50. Now, I never said shit about no pay-per-view numbers, and I'm going to make that plain again. Number two, we can talk about Bob Arum, which I always do, and I agree with Bob Arum, but we're not going to leave aside this bullshit with the PBC and Floyd and them always fucking considering their guys A-side over everyone. Let me tell you something. Fuck the pay-per-view numbers. Fuck the fact that it's Manny Pacquiao. Okay? Because here's the situation. For as much as these fucking PBC and Errol Spence fanboys can sit up here and say that he's supposed to be A-side, then the Crawford side can make the same argument. Because who's on the pound for pound list, number one, number two, number three, whatever you want to fucking put him. It's been Terence Crawford consistently, fam. So he has just as much reason to go into that fight as an even champion. And Smoke, the rest of the world, you always get up here and say this shit about the belts. You don't care about them. We get that. But the rest of the world, the fucking belts matter, fam. And you can't have a unified champion on one side and then a unified champion on one other side, but that unified champion in Crawford is higher on the pound for pound list, and just say that it's not 50-50 because of fucking the PBC and their fucking ideas of these fucking pay-per-view numbers. That's why I didn't even fucking mention this shit. Man, to hell with that. Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, that money got to be split. That's why I want Terence Crawford to get that fucking belt. Then there's nowhere else for Errol Spence to fucking run to. Because you said you were going to clean out this division, clean out your side of the street. Well, there won't be no more side of the streets. The other two belts is right there. 50-50 fight. I don't want to hear Spence's and Al Heyman's mouth. 50-50 fight. I don't want to hear Arum and Crawford's mouth. Make the goddamn fight happen, fam.
Yeah.
I got a question though. All right,
go ahead, Crawford. I mean, Brian.
No, I agree with that, right? Just from a bargaining position point, it's better to have the two belts say, I got two belts, you got two belts. Let's put them all on the line. Simple for the bargaining position, and saying, well, you can't avoid me now because I have what you want. You have what I want. Let's get it on. That's very simple.
So I was going to say, and this is I guess it's on topic, but it's a little, I'm saying it's straying off a little bit. But so in the case of like Errol Spence, right, versus Danny, let's say, you know, because we were saying Kell Brook is kind of, or was kind of damaged goods, which I agree to. You know what I'm saying? You know, what about Earl Spence? You know, if he's not looking the same in the Danny fight, but let's say he does win the fight, but we could visibly tell, hey, that's not the same guy. You know, that's not the old Spence that we're accustomed to. Are we gonna give Bud credit for beating that guy?
Well, Spence, listen, if Spence beats Danny, but like you said, we can visibly see that, Spence is not himself. Bro, Crawford still gets credit, fam. He still gets credit. There will be a question for Crawford fans and Spence fans if he would have beat Spence before the accident, but so be it. I don't care about none of that. If he beats Spence, he beats Spence. He'll get full credit from me, full credit, undisputed champion at 145. He'll eat Teofimo to the punch because Teofimo got this fucking Devin Haney situation. Crawford will be four-belt undisputed at two weight classes, and everybody could shut the fuck up with the hate. All of the Spence fans and everybody else, the PBC lovers, fuck all of that shit they talking about. That dude will be the man, hands down. I'll give him full credit for it. I don't know what everybody else would do. Fuck that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's just you're bad for marinating the fight and drinking and driving. Like
right, exactly.
Exactly. Nobody. That wasn't like that wasn't one of those circumstances that was unavoidable and wasn't his fault, right? So he just got to take that. Right?
Yeah.
But just back to the A side for me is just about a business negotiation, right? I think if Terence Crawford just hasn't done the business. Like I get the whole pound for pound and the purist argument, but I don't think that actually works for a boardroom negotiation. But listen, but I think if to what Unbiased is saying, if Spence looks damaged goods or looks vulnerable, I think you might have to come down off that price, right? If you actually look like you're damaged goods, if you want to get that fight, I think there's a way that he could lose this fight, that he could actually lose some bargaining power.
Here, I got a scenario for you. Right?
There's a way he could win the fight. There's a way he could win the fight and lose bargaining power.
Right, Brian, quick, fam. Real quick, let Jay Cooley jump in here because he just stepped on the panel.
Jay Cooley.
What's up, Jay Cooley?
What's up, D man? I ain't gonna be on here long, man. I'm just gonna say something and I'm gonna get out. But I'm gonna be in the chat.
All right, that's what's up.
Already. I give credit to Bud, man. I give credit to him. But Bud fans, y'all please do not compare this fight to when Earl fought Kell Brook. Please don't.
Facts.
Please.
I haven't. I'm
just saying. And I pray that Bud do get this Manny fight so he can have two belts and they have no choice but to meet up.
Yeah.
And one more thing I got to say. I'm very convinced and very confident that Earl gonna beat the hell out of Bud. I swear I seen it last night. Bud can't fight right-handed. He gonna have to fight Earl southpaw against southpaw. And Earl gonna beat the brakes off of. He gotta get past Danny. And I'm not worried about it because he didn't have no broken bones, none of that shit. He just had swollen face. They're just like getting beat the fuck up in a fight. We gonna beat up Danny and we want Bud. He can have Manny, but we gonna beat the hell out of Bud and I'm out.
All right. Leo Santa Snooze with the super chat. Appreciate you, fam. Go ahead, Brian.
The one thing is, all right.
Oh yeah, let Brian rock. He was gonna go before.
Okay, scenario for you, right? Danny Garcia versus Errol Spence Jr. Right, Errol Spence Jr. doesn't look good, but he wins. He looks visibly. Who's to say that Manny Pacquiao doesn't step in and say, "I'll fight Errol Spence Jr. next"?
Oh, maybe good question. Yeah,
like that could be something that could happen. I could see Manny Pacquiao going, "Well, I could step on this. I'm old. He's not visibly what he used to be. I could step in and take 3 belts." I could see Manny Pacquiao doing that.
Hey,
I,
Brian,
I could see that happening.
that's a good scenario, bro. And I'm gonna tell you this: that's a good scenario, Brian. And I know my fellow Jay Cooley. That you still in the chat, and I know you still in the chat. And you listen up, Jay Cooley. That's an excellent scenario because I'm gonna keep it straight, Jay Cooley. I'm gonna call it straight down the line, Jay Cooley. Now I'm a Spence fan just like you, Jay Cooley, but just like I said about once upon a time Thurman, if you come, if he comes off of that Garcia fight and we can visibly see that there's issues, do not put it past Manny Pacquiao to go in there and upset Spence the same way he upset it once upon a time Thurman. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you. Brian, that would be crazy. But to me, that would mean two things. That Spence clearly wasn't himself, because I don't see Manny beating Spence, if without problems. But the second thing I would say is Bud gonna get for a belt undisputed at welterweight. Because if that shit was to happen, fam, if that shit was to happen, man, Manny Pacquiao not beating Bud Crawford. I'm sorry, fam. He not beating Bud Crawford, and that would be a
I
road
agree.
for a belt undisputed for Bud Crawford all fucking day.
I asked that question right about Earl Spence because it just looks like Bud's gonna it's like an uphill battle for him to get credit at 147, and a lot of it has to do with his management and him. I'm not gonna not put the onus on him. He gets some of that heat, and a lot of it is also the other side of the street, if you want to call it that. But it's him too. You know what I'm saying? So, if Spence has to look good in his next performance, right, for Bud to get credit, really, if he fights him in the future. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah. I mean, look, bro. I'm hoping that Spence looks impressive in this Danny Garcia match, because if he looks impressive in this Danny Garcia match, then there's no excuses for the Crawford fight. And if Crawford was to beat him, then he gets all the credit in the world. If he wins the Danny Garcia fight, I don't care what any other fellow Spence fans say. I'm still giving Crawford all the credit in the world. Even if Spence pulls out, he looks, a little shaky from the accident. So what? Crawford still gets all the respect. And nobody told Spence to drive that fucking car drunk. That's just how I'm gonna look at it. Obi, what's up with you, Obi? Obi, your mic on mute if you're trying to talk, man.
No, I was just checking you out, man.
Oh, all right. That's what's good. So, yeah, man. So yeah, that's how I look at it. So I'm hoping that Spence goes in here, looks impressive against that. Well, look, first and foremost, let me say this. Errol Spence is going to beat Danny Garcia. I'm convinced of it, because I'm not like all of these people where Danny Garcia has this chance and that chance. Look, man, Errol Spence is a better fighter than Danny Garcia. And all of these people that think Spence can't box, okay, whatever. Say what you want, he can't box. If Danny Garcia gives Spence too much trouble to the chin, Spence gonna feel it, he gonna know, Spence gonna outbox him. And for all y'all that think he can't do it, then you just gonna see him do it. I'm not even trying to go to the back and forth. Well, Spence comes in straight, he leaves himself to be hit. I was just going on this with Punch Drunk, but if we're gonna sit here and give Teofimo this credit that no, he can do this, he can do that. He just haven't pulled his tools out the shed, because there's not been a fighter in front of him that is going to make him do that. If you can have that ideology with Teofimo Lopez going into the Lomachenko fight, then you can't say that about Spence. Because I keep telling people Spence can do a lot more than people giving him credit for. These fighters like the fucking LaGrecos and Barreras and Van Heerdens and Bundus and shit, they didn't require Spence to bring those tools out the bag, bro. fights Carlos Ocampo. What did Carlos Ocampo, was he gonna make Spence come out with the fucking head movement and all that? Nah, these guys weren't gonna make Spence do that. But Terence Crawford, Danny Garcia, if that power is too much, these are the kind of guys that you're gonna make is gonna make Spence fight in a different way. And then people look at the Mikey Garcia file. He did that to little Mikey. Okay, he did that in the ring to Mikey Garcia that came up from 135. But he still did that in a boxing ring. So it shows you that he can do that. Just because he did it against Mikey doesn't nullify the fact that he can do those things. Like, what the fuck are people thinking, fam? Just because it was against Mikey, he can't do that now? He can do that.
Yeah, I think Mikey beats Kell Brook. And you know what I saw, and it really solidified last night that I think Spence beats him, is Terence Crawford. He just hooks his shots. Like, he just loops those shots way too much. Like, the guys that punch straight and can actually take a licking, yeah, I think it's going to be a problem. And also, Spence is way more busy, way more active, and is dedicated to the body, right? I don't know. I don't know what people are seeing, but I think it's going to be a good fight. I do want to see what Spence looks like and what his punch resistance is like and all that stuff. But I expect a drubbing, like an 8-4 kind of thing.
Hey, Smoke, I said that hey, Kell Brook is gonna give Crawford more of a problem because he throws straighter punches, but he couldn't do that because of Crawford's offense and the fact that he was looping those shots and getting off on those weird, because Crawford, he tends to throw his punches. It starts off straight, but he loops it when it hits you. And that's just how it is.
It's a different thing, right? So Spence comes in behind the jab, right? So Kell Brook was staying on the outside. Crawford was waiting for Brook to come in, and Brook was just staying on the outside and piecing him up, kind of thing. And so there needed to be an adjustment made there. But what Spence does is he comes in behind his jab and he works that body. He doesn't just come in and try to rough you up, trying to mix up on the inside like a Kell Brook does.
I'm biased. I'm biased. Let me ask you something.
That's a big fact.
What is the explanation
for Bud to actually get on the inside once Spence realizes that he's going to have the advantage keeping that range? Because that was one thing where Brook was doing a good job showing he could control the range early. And with that deficit of a reach, it's not the end all be all, but Bud had better movement. If you take a look at the footwork early on, despite Brook having some success establishing his jab. So Spence kind of piggybacks off of that with the longer arms, more power, better placement. Like you said, attacking the body. It's going to make for a very interesting fight.
Yeah. Brook threw one good right hand in that fight. And that's about the best of his offense. One good right hand landed. Really, the first meaningful shot that Payne landed, Bud Crawford landed, fight was over. And a simple, he threw a jab that ended up in a hook. So it's a shot you don't see. It's a shot that, when you throw that jab, you think it's a jab. Then next thing you know, it's around your chin. That hurt him. That hurt Kell Brook. That tells me everything I need to know about Kell Brook. That told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't right. He wasn't the same Kell Brook he used to be. I actually diminished a lot of Bud Crawford's thing last night. What would you call him? Credit, because of the level of the opponent. It wasn't good. It wasn't good to watch. But then again, it was 4 a.m. in the morning here, and I was like, okay, or 5 a.m. in the morning then it's here. I'm like, since it's over, I said, thank God it ended in the fourth round. I'm going straight to sleep. So
yeah, look, man, there's something else we gotta realize too. Kell Brook and Errol Spence, the dimensions, their length anyway. It's okay. Terence Crawford had a 5-inch reach advantage on Kell Brook. Kell Brook got a 69-inch fucking reach, man. Now he is 5'9" like Errol Spence, but he's only got a 69-inch reach. Terence Crawford got a 74-inch reach, although he's shorter than those guys. But Errol Spence Terence Crawford only enjoying 2 inches, fam. 72, 74-inch reach. So Spence gonna touch him. It's gonna be different. And this shit with Terence Crawford, look, I know that he did what he had to do. He switched. I gave him credit for all of that. Me and Brian said that at that 3rd round, when he switched to southpaw and he started landing more fluently on Kell Brook, that made the difference. So I'm not taking nothing away from Terence Crawford's skills. But what I'm saying is the dimensions matter, fam. The weight drain fucking matters. When Kell Brook was willing to go in full-fledged at GGG, but hesitant versus a Crawford, if you fucking Crawford fans is getting ready to sit up here and compare Crawford's power to fucking GGG, it's getting ridiculous, fam. So I'm not taking nothing away from what Crawford didn't allow. But the punch resistance, people. It's the punch resistance. Fighters know what they can take. Brian, you got a little fever. I'm going to just put you on mute while you're not talking. Fighters know what they can take, and they know what they cannot take. Brook's resistance was in question to himself, whether you fans want to accept it or not. He was not as willing to engage with a fucking Bud Crawford less than he was willing to engage with a goddamn GGG. Come on with this shit, people. Come on with this.
It's the Bud.
Wait, I got a question. Where are people?
That Bud is not necessarily like
Oh,
you gotta see him
low,
against enough competition to kind of stop questioning him. And so when you got a guy like Brook into that fight where we've seen him go through a physical deterioration over the past few years from losing the orbital bones, repeatedly getting smashed different joints, he's not the same fighter. So when we talk about not showing that same aggression that he did with GGG, we've got to acknowledge it. Kell Brook is not the same Kell Brook. He's regular K. He did fight well, but he's not ready to beat a guy like Bud anymore, or at least competitive for 12 rounds.
Are we thinking, like, are people using this as a metric to see if he was going to beat Earl Spence? Because I don't think, like, this was not the fight to do that.
Yes, but fans are using it as a metric on bias. Yes. Already, it's coming out. That yes.
Well, I mean, maybe for me, I've already thought that he was going to beat him before that, so I never use this as a metric.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about these fucking fans. You know, unbiased. It's fanboys on every side. On the Spence side, on the Bud side. So now it's the stupid shit coming out. Like we could say, oh, look at how he beat Kell Brook versus how Spence beat Kell Brook. Are y'all stupid, bro? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, it's not even comparable. You shouldn't compare it at all.
Hey, D, people are kind of doing the same a little bit with Mikey Garcia. That, like, you know, we saw him against Spence, and our opinion of him has changed. It's very similar. He's not a bad fighter, but, you know, bit off more than he could chew. And if he's back in his wheelhouse, we should expect to see something of the same Mikey. But the narratives, they're very extreme, man.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, man. But like my unbiased said, this is not a measuring stick. This is not a litmus test. You know what I mean? This is a drained Kell Brook who was drained 3 years ago, and that's what this is. Box fans, what's good with you, fam? You know what I mean? Like, Bud gets his credit. He gets his credit for beating Kell Brook. He does. I'm not trying to rob credit from Bud. But how much more credit do you guys give Bud for beating Kell Brook than you give anybody else he's fought at 147? That's my problem. I'm not going to give Bud more credit than the Jeff Horn or the Kavialaskas or the Jose Benavidez. I'm not giving them any more credit for those guys because this was not a valid. I mean, this was not a Brook that could give him more credit. This was a drained Kell Brook. So he gets credit for another title defense at 147, and let's leave it like that. Brook's no litmus test.
I'm a Kell Brook.
I'd just like to congratulate D. You said Kavialaskas' name so much that I now will just call him Kavialaskas and not Green Machine.
Yo, progress from smoke is a big deal, y'all. Let's take a second to appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
We got through the smoke.
Here, I'm a I'm a Bud Crawford fan, and I don't see this as a litmus test for. I don't see this a litmus test for Errol Spence Jr. I just don't see it. This is a fight I expected them to win. I expected them to win easy, and that's what happened. So, you know, that's as simple as that.
Yeah,
You know,
unbiased.
to
You
be
see that
fair,
comment?
You
You see
expect him
that
to beat
comment,
him that
unbiased?
easily?
I told you there's super Bud Crawford fans out here. There are super Bud Crawford fans. I just wanted to put this up, unbiased, so that you can see that I'm not lying to you, fam. You understand? Like,
hey,
oh
but
my God.
I was just gonna say, like, you know, there's fanboys on both sides of the spectrum. Like Earl Spence has his fanboys. You know, we you know who I'm talking about, where everybody's gonna be a man down, everybody's getting stopped, and obviously, fans, yeah, exactly. Fans have their haters too, but I never looked at the guys that Earl Spence. I mean, there's takeaways to see what Earl Spence does in fights to measure how they would fight each other, but you got to actually come to the realization that these guys are going to fight each other very differently than how they're fighting the opponents they have in front of them. You know what I mean? So that's the way I'm looking at it. That's what I came to a realization. So I'm just waiting for them to get in the ring, to be honest with you.
These
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
has been saying that the whole time. That we like
exactly.
these guys are not barometers, like their competition, their past comp are not barometers for how they're gonna face each other. It's just a showcase of what they can do or what they decide to do in those particular fights. That's their greatness. We're not talking about regular boxers, run-of-the-mill guys who we can really armchair analyze. You got to remember, like, that's the whole thing about Bud. Bud is not special if he's not a switch hitter. It's that he's a switch hitter. He knows how to switch, and he's like a natural when he does it. That's his real, like his special skill. So when he adjusts, like that's his thing.
Yeah.
So we always got to watch a Bud fight knowing how is he going to adjust. Not to
Right.
put him in Floyd's category, but that was what Floyd did too. You didn't care
Yeah,
about
right.
early rounds. And as we watched the Brook fight last night, they were trying to make note of that. Bud's a slow starter. Lo and behold, he started a little bit slow, but he even picked it up. So if anything, you can give Bud a little bit of credit to say, okay, he didn't let Brook kind of sneak in extra rounds, maybe get some confidence, maybe learn a few things to hang around in the fight. 2.5 rounds in, Bud woke up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, and look, Chicano Prophets is right. People were trying to act like the odds maker had this fight wrong with the wide odds. Looked like they had it exactly right. And I agree with that 100%, Chicano Prophet. They did have it right because, listen, those odds makers in Vegas, they have boxing minds. Guys that know boxing, know what's going on in the ring, know what guys' ailments are outside of the ring, and they account for all of this. They account for all of this. So they knew that Kell Brook was going to be severely drained, whether you Crawford fanboys don't want to accept it or not, fam. They knew that this was a fight that was not going to push Bud to the limit, fam. We need, Josecito, not Josecito Lopez, Jose Benavidez pushed Terence Crawford to 12 rounds. I'm not saying he pushed him to the limit, but he pushed him to 12 rounds. Kell Brook didn't even make 12 rounds, bro. Think about that. What are y'all fucking telling me that that Benavidez was a more durable fighter than Kell Brook? Not the Kell Brook that we know of. So this is like these type of things. This is why you should compare fights. And just like I said, we've never seen Kell Brook get wobbled from a punch like that. Whether Crawford changed it into a hook, I get that sentiment. We've never seen Kell Brook get wobbled to the fact where he's about to be put away because he's never been put away. But we've never seen him hurt from a punch like that. And I've never seen Crawford hurt anyone with a punch like that. Ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you on that. The fact is that there was a different level of competition last night. I've been, and everyone here has the same sentiment. It's time to push up your competition, bud. You're 33 years old, and you ain't got time anymore to be messing around with B, C, D level competition. You have to you had to go now after the A guys. You had to go after the Pacquiaos, even though Pacquiao's way past his best. You had to go past, you had to go past, Errol Spence Jr. These are the guys now you have to fight. A good solid Sean Porter would even be a step up than this.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I keep saying I'm a Bud fan, and I don't want to see him fight these guys. I don't want to see him fight the guys he's been fighting. I don't want to see him fight the guys he's been fighting. I want to see him step up in competition, and I want him to prove why I am a Spence fan, because I'm a Spence fan, or not a Spence fan, a Bud Crawford fan on ability, on what he has shown and what I believe he can do. But that don't put you in my pound for pound number one. That don't put you in my pound for pound number two. You had to do a lot more than what you're doing right now to get up there. And that's all I'm saying. So, step up your level of competition, right? And make me be proud to be, because right now, on your ability, yeah, I'm a Bud Crawford fan, but on your opponent level, I am ashamed of that. I literally am ashamed of that, calling myself a Crawford fan.
You're a real one.
Yeah. So that whole A side and PBC, right? That's actually how you get the, because really the only person he's not an A side against on PBC is Spence and Pacquiao, right? So he can turn that A side star power up when he fights a Thurman or Brook, and then increase it against Pacquiao, and now you're talking some business, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thing is,
no, hold on for a second. No, he turns it up when he beats Pacquiao. Because let's keep it real. Pacquiao's the cash cow. You know why Pacquiao stock raised tremendously, whether people want to accept it or not, these Pacquiao lovers, because he fought Floyd Mayweather and earned all of that money with Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was the fucking cash cow. Floyd Mayweather was the guy that made Pacquiao this high-paid guy.
Yeah.
Pacquiao is the fucking cash cow at 147, not fucking Errol Spence. So if Terence Crawford fights the cash cow, plus takes another belt, that increases his stock twofold. 50-50 fight. That's how Manny Pacquiao got his fucking stock, from fighting Floyd, the cash cow. He's the cash cow at 147. So if Crawford beats him and takes that, he also takes that pay-per-view, that cash cow face, right? At least he takes some of it. All of that increases Bud Crawford's stock. Plus, he will have two belts like Spence. This fucking PBC bullshit thinking. Fucking Floyd Mayweather. Tank Davis is the A-side automatically over Teofimo. Get the fuck out of here. Stupid motherfucker only beat somebody at 135. One fight at 135 and it won't impress him. And he's the fucking A-side. It's fucking PBC bullshit. Everybody being the A-side. Get the fuck on with that, man.
This is business.
But
DJ.
I think
that's shaky business. You know what I mean? Like, come on, like, if you're going to take this into account at one point, then you have to take it into account at another point. It don't all go in the PBC favor. Get the fuck on.
See, the issue, right? And I think it was illustrated beautifully, or maybe there could be some flaws, but I think a wonderful example is the Canelo Triple G fight, right? Triple G had 3 belts, Canelo had 0 belts, but Triple G got 35% because of the business of boxing, not really the purest part of the boxing, not the sport part, but the business part.
Smoke, one sec. Let you continue. That was partially because Canelo has faced the golden goose that DJ was referring to. He's got that Mayweather on the record.
But that's the point. That's the point. That's the point. Is that he did business. It's the business part, right? He went and did business.
Canelo, smoke, stop it. This nigga ain't, his stock is not that high. You fucking acting like Spence is on the realm of these guys where his stock is that high. It doesn't even correlate, that fucking analogy you give it. Because Spence ain't at no fucking level of Canelo to be able to pull the numbers so far over like he's a Floyd or a Canelo or a Pacquiao. He's not that. The motherfucker just got his stock when he fought Mikey Garcia. Let's keep it real. This motherfucker, what has he done? He's he's unified twice at 147. That's it. He ain't no fucking Floyd, no Canelo, no Pacquiao. His stock is not that much over where he can fucking demand all of this when the man just beat Pacquiao and he has 2 fucking belts like Spence. No, they will be even then. He's not that far up, but the PBC want to put him that way. No, he's not.
Okay, I think again, you're conflating belts with business, right? The only reason I said that illustration was not to say that there was a one-to-one comparison between Canelo and Spence. I was talking about the difference, where business is not the sport, right? What you pull in and what your revenues are, that's the business part. The belts, you can maybe throw that in there if guys are doing similar book, right? But Terence Crawford, from what we can tell, is not doing the kind of business that Errol Spence has, regardless of the unification part, right? I'm just talking about the business part.
That's marketing.
No, I'm talking about the business. The marketing part of it is how you sell something, right? I'm actually talking about the brass. I'm talking about the brass tacks. When you go into a negotiation, let me just finish. When you're talking about an A side, what you're talking about is a position in a negotiation, right? That's all it is. And when you're negotiating, right, you're just talking like the main thing about that aspect of it is the how much money do you make. Now you can add something to that if the fighter cares, right? Like I think Aloma is like, I like belts. I'm going for greatness. I'm going all this stuff. So that is a value that specific fighters can put on it, but that's not the business. Like when you're sitting there with the managers and all that stuff, they may not care. The promoters, all that stuff, they don't,
Belts equal cash though.
Yeah, look,
that's what PBC built
there's a lot of belts that don't though,
marketing.
Right? All right, hold on. Fuck the belts right now. Hold on for a second. Fuck the belts right now, so I can get through to smoke, bro. Because I hate this fucking smoke and mirrors that's always fucking going up, man. Like, listen, give the belts to the goddamn side. And I just tried to say this, and you went back to the belt, smoke. So respond to this without the fucking belts. Like, let's take the belts out of it, because you and your fucking thing about these belts. When Errol Spence fought Mikey Garcia, that was what became his selling power. And the belt didn't have a fucking thing to do with it, because Mikey Garcia wasn't offering a belt. He was daring to be stupid. Okay? So when Errol Spence did that and fought him and packed that goddamn Dallas Stadium, that's what brought his stock to him. Errol Spence wasn't no fucking guy that the PBC is making him to be until he got that. What I'm trying to tell you, take the fucking belt out, take it out, so we don't keep talking about belts.
Wait, hold on, DJ.
Hold on.
I want you to address it in your point. So I just want to briefly. Spence got juice off of Mikey having belts though. So I want you just to add that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I get that. That's true. Okay. But I still want to take the belts out of it completely, because that's what he keep running to. So you take the belts out of it. Now you put Terence Crawford. We say, he's not sellable, and Bob ain't been doing a good job. Okay, blah 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 blah, whatever. Now he fights Manny Pacquiao. It creates a stop, because that fight will fucking sell. You can see it and say, yeah, but that was because of Pacquiao. I don't want to hear that bullshit. This is how, when you get into that type of fight, this is how you increase that stock. Take the fucking belts out of it. So now Bud would have increased his stock through one fight, like Spence increased his stock through one fucking fight. They're 50 fucking 50, and that's your business side of it, smoke. It's just all again. Once again, it's just this PBC superiority bullshit. And Floyd Mayweather definitely played his bit in creating that dumb shit, which is why these guys run around talking about how much money they're making instead of what they're actually fucking accomplishing. That's where this fucking stick. This comes from, fam. But Bud Crawford would. I ain't finished, folks. But Bud Crawford would increase his stock with a fat fight with Pacquiao, who's the fucking cash cow. Just like Spence increased his stock with that fight with Mikey Garcia. So we need to stop this shit that Bud will be inferior in any way to get another PDC fighter. Like fucking Teal Fimo supposed to be inferior to Tank. It ain't do a goddamn thing at 135. PBC shit.
I think you're still conflating accomplishments in the ring with the business that they do, right? With the business that they do. When it comes to Tank, when it comes to right, so first off, we agree that Manny Pacquiao would increase Terence Crawford's stock, right? But no argument there. I don't know that they would get it by half because
Everybody's shocked. That was the
because
point.
it would be so prevalent on the book that Manny Pacquiao does, right? So I don't know that how much of that then rubs off onto Terence Crawford. But that is my point. Both guys at this point in their career have done 2 pay-per-views total. Both Terence Crawford and Errol Spence. The difference is from all reports, Errol Spence's pay-per-views are at least 5 times more lucrative, and he's about to do another one, right? While Terence Crawford's fighting Kell Brook, in between college football thing, right? What Errol Spence is doing back-to-back pay-per-views. I'm saying that I think Keith Thurman is you could probably get a pay-per-view out of that, and Bud Crawford would be the A side in that negotiation. So you could probably get yourself a successful pay-per-view where you're the A side, where you can go into a Manny Pacquiao fight and maybe even demand a little bit more money, right? And then also once you get out of that Manny Pacquiao fight, let's say you get out, you have your cachet and Manny's cachet, and now I think you're closer then at that point I think you're closer. But I think we both agree that Manny Pacquiao would raise Terence Crawford's stock tremendously.
Everybody
this is where you're flawed, Smoke. This is where you're flawed right here, Smoke. Because this is where everybody else takes into account that you don't want to take into account, Smoke. After you agree that Manny Pacquiao will raise his stock, which is the point I was trying to make, now you have to take into account what you don't think matters, the belts. Then that's when the belt kicks in. It's 50-50, so kill it. Go ahead, Obi.
But okay. So with the Mikey Garcia, you got to remember, like Spence's pay-per-view numbers they're not inflated per se, but the B-sides definitely made a heavy contribution. You can't understate that. So like when we try to talk about them being even, if Bud is able to grab a belt, it's a really streamlined concept. So when you fight it, this is why we're kind of confused with you a little bit. It's very straightforward to understand this. It's not hard to see. Like Mikey Garcia and Sean Porter, they draw numbers. So you add that with Errol Spence. This is just good business, right? This is what we're talking about with PBC. They're able to not just necessarily create a narrative, but it's like they just have a position that's hard to argue against for the most part. You build a stable of champions. Champions are going to be viewed, and now everyone can piggyback off of each other so long as the guy that they desire to be on top will end up winning those fights, a la Errol Spence.
Right. So again, when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm not, so belts are a marketing tool, definitely, right? But I think that people may be misinformed about the numbers that both Porter and Mikey did before they fought Errol, right? This idea that they had these huge followings, that's just not the case. Like Mikey Garcia fights out of California. And he wasn't packing stadium. He wasn't packing it out. There wasn't tens of thousands of fans there. He went to Errol Spence's hometown, and Errol Spence's hometown happens to be one of the places in America where there are a lot of black and brown people that live together. But that doesn't mean that the brown people are not rooting for the black people, or the black people aren't rooting for the brown people. Right, that's just the way that their community is.
Don't do that.
No. I'm just trying to put it out because there's an idea that Mikey Garcia, a California guy, has this huge following in Texas that has never materialized in his career.
You're making California and Texas look far away.
No, they are far. Dude, I live in California.
He's leaving out the fact that Mikey fights out of California, but he had a fucking tremendous amount of Mexicans.
Exactly.
Show out down there.
The tribe.
Right. That's what my point is. We're assuming that the Mexicans were there for
Why would you try to establish a point? He left. Hold on for a second. Even though it was Spence's hometown, he left. He had a large Mexican following. Come on with that, bro.
The point is that Spence also has a large Mexican following.
Yeah, he does, Smoke, but still a lot showed out for Mikey, and we
I'm not saying no doubt
for Mikey. Let's not play that game.
No doubt.
The tribalism, and it's a part of boxing. We can't. Even
right. I get it. But what I'm saying is, I think that you guys are overemphasizing the impact of a Mikey Garcia and a Sean Porter.
But look at
his
his belts. Look at his belts. Look at his following. You got to understand boxing. The basic tribalism. There's more armchair fans, or rather, there's more casuals than there are diehard fans. Casuals are going to go with tribalism. We can't pretend that that's not the case. This is why we don't necessarily respect the opinions of a casual, because they're more inclined to just lean one way or the other based on things that are not boxing related.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I went to the numbers before, right? If you see Mikey Garcia versus Adrian Broner, right? Mikey Garcia versus all these things. Like the time that still the biggest fight of Mikey Garcia's life was in Errol Spence's backyard.
Yes, but that was a build-up. Mikey's career built up to that. That's why he bit
No,
off
but
more
what I'm
than he could
saying,
chew.
but he fought.
He put his
Right, but he
entire
fought
career on the line to literally just to show whether he was a next level star or not. He just literally bit off more than he could chew. Say he fought a Sean Porter, he might have won that fight.
No, I mean, I get that part. I get that part of it, right?
But if you say you get it, you got to acknowledge that turns Mikey into a superstar. Mikey just gambled.
Right, I got it. But the issue isn't that it's a bunch of different issues, right? So what the fight did for him is a completely different issue than who that fan base was there for, right? And why they were there. Right, and that is the point. Like when you take
Fair enough. Except for the fact
just let me finish my idea.
No, but check it out though.
Just hold up a second. I'm almost done.
Hey, hold on. Oh, both of y'all, chill. Obi, let him finish, and then take over, bro. Because
Smoke he acknowledged something that he didn't acknowledge.
I know.
It's cool. I can't acknowledge it because you keep interrupting me, yo.
No, but if Mikey has
just let me finish talking, and then you'll tell me what I can acknowledge that I did.
No, I am doing this, fam. It ain't gonna work with you yelling behind me. So chill for a second. Obi, the way we do it here, fam, is everybody get their voice. So I know he's gonna say some shit that you don't agree with. He might say 3 or 4 things that you don't agree is accurate. Just let him land the plane, no matter how long it fucking takes him to land the plane, and then go in on it. Just let it work that way, because they can't hear in the time when y'all doing that.
Cool.
Go ahead, Smoke. Land the plane and pilot.
Right, and let's just take the personalities right out. I'm gonna say two real polarizing personalities. So let's just take the personalities out of it and just get to what the example I'm trying to make is, right. You take a Floyd and a McGregor, right? Both of those guys made money in Vegas, right? So when they come together in Vegas, it's a real big thing because they both have a fan base in Vegas that is a proven fan base you can bank on, right? Mikey Garcia did not have a proven fan base in Dallas, right? That was Errol Spence's fan base that he had built up over a couple of fights, right? It wasn't just all of a sudden he was at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. He started off at the practice stadium, did well there, and then moved up to the big room. That was not a Mikey Garcia process, right? And I get the tribalism cells and all that stuff, but that is a different idea than there was a bunch of Mikey Garcia fans. Now you're talking about casuals who are there for the tribalism.
Bro, it doesn't even matter, Smoke. All of that shit you saying, look, it's a 50-50 fight. That dude beat Manny Pacquiao. That's it. And that's still just a hypothetical because we don't know if Manny Pacquiao's in the team is going to put him in there with fucking Spence or Crawford because they haven't done it yet. So this is all still just speculation. But the facts are, well, not the fact, but it's most likely if he beats Manny Pacquiao, it ain't gonna be no goddamn A-side, whether the PBC wants it or not. And if it's the PBC that pushes for this A-side, then they're ducking the fight. Spence is ducking the fight. And I'm gonna say that shit now, whether I'm a Spence fan or not. It should be a 50-50 fucking fight. Make this shit happen. But if they push for some fucking A-side shit, then they are fucking up the fight solely. Spence and the PBC, period.
Yeah, I don't actually care about if this whole thing boils down to who's the A side, then yeah, it's some bullshit. At that point, I don't care, right? I need to see the fight. I don't give a damn about A side, B side, right? I'm just making an outside objective view, right? I don't see the numbers and none of that stuff. But at the end of the day, for my own self-interest, I don't give a damn. I don't want to hear the fight didn't happen because somebody's pulling some A side move.
Yeah, can I say something? I've been trying to say, right? When you're a young guy, right? Just say you play football, soccer, right? Your objective one day when you're that young, when you start playing, you want to win a World Cup. When you play basketball, you want to win an NBA. You want to win an NBA title. When you play American football, you want to go to the Super Bowl and you want to win the Super Bowl, right? How does it come to the point where boxing, where titles don't matter?
Right.
When you're a young guy and you start boxing, you want to be a world heavyweight champion, or you want to be a world champion, right? We're at the point now where boxing titles don't matter because there's so many of them, and that's a freaking damn shame. That is a damn shame. The title should be your number one goal when you're in the business.
Yeah, it's supply and demand. Like, listen, Dillian White is a prototype. He's a prototype of, you know what? That dude's never even had a championship fight, and he's pay-per-view after pay-per-view after pay-per-view.
Facts.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's a damn shame that we've gotten to this point in boxing where titles don't matter. It used to be titles. Titles were what you went for. Back in the 60s, back in the 50s, back in the 40s, titles were what mattered. That there proved, that there showed everyone that you were the man. Now we're at the point where there's too many freaking titles, and it doesn't tell, I'm just saying it's a damn shame in this era. You know what I mean?
I feel like unification is still, that's still like, that becomes the new goal. But you're right as far as the barriers, because A-side and those types of things will be barriers that are now going to be a part of the era that may keep people from becoming undisputed. Undisputed is that new goal, but it's something where you can't even guarantee to do it, and still you could be a GOAT. Like guys like Floyd and wrestling, these guys are GOATs and they've never been undisputed.
But listen, dude,
you have a clear mission. In boxing, you don't have a mission anymore because titles don't matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's a guy we're just talking about pound for pounds the other day, and some guy had Tank in his top 10 pound for pound because he calls him a multi-division champion, right? And it's just like when you get all of these titles, it muddies the waters. Like, was Tank and Leo a unification or no? Was Thurman and Pacquiao a unification or no? Right? When you just throw these belts all around the place, like, nobody can understand what's happening, and then it becomes too many champions, and so the champion's no longer the man. Like, it dilutes the entire process.
Yeah,
it was a good idea though, right? To have at least champ versus champ, so you can't make it all about one guy dominating without allowing other people to at least be somewhat in the realm or to be in the discussion. It's just gotten out of hand.
Yeah, like I'm just saying, like as a shame, because when I was 7 years old and I started boxing, I was asked, "What do you want to be?" and I said, "World heavyweight champion." That was my goal back then, and I know I'll never get that. But do I know something? I would have loved to have the opportunity for it. Tell you the truth, I would have loved to be that good and fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if I was world heavyweight champion today, would I get the credit I deserve? I don't think so.
Ooh, well said.
So like that's everybody. I'm just saying, I feel like boxing has lost its identity in that way. It used to be if you were the champion, you were the man. It showed that was the measuring stick. Now there's too many titles, there's too many champions, and it's just lost its meaning. And I'm just saying it's a fucking shame. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, you 150% right. It's gotten worse over maybe the past like 15 or so years, because with like before, the fights were still like taking place between a WBO and a WBA champ for unification. Like that stuff was a lot more regular. We cared. It's just the minor belts as well. It's gotten worse. What do you guys think about what could be done to fix it, or if it would be fixed at all?
You see this regular and this super belt and all that there. I believe every commission should have one belt for each position. Or even one belt for every weight.
All right. I'm one of these guys, right, that's been watching boxing since there was two divisions, two actual recognized divisions, right? In my time of watching boxing, I've seen it expand weight classes and sanctioning bodies, and they're expanding it more, right? So this whole idea of a consolidation, get it out of your head. There's going to be more divisions and more sanctioning bodies.
Yeah, and it's a shame. That's all I'm saying. I hate it. I hate.
Right, pound for pound has become a litany of I fought a champion in a weight class, right? But there's so many weight classes and so many champions. What does that say about anything?
Yeah.
Leo Santa Cruz is four division champion. With Abdul Maris and Carl Frampton as his main guys, right?
Yeah.
It's easier. Yeah, it's easier
Well,
now.
remember,
Easier today to become a four division weight champion than it was 20, 30 years ago. You know.
Yeah.
So, because you can choose which champion you fight.
I think maybe
You can
what's
choose
ruined
the
it.
fight you can go for, which is
And
easy.
you got a bunch of weight classes that are like 3 pounds away from each other, like dude,
Right.
4 pounds, 3 and 4 pounds away from each other. A bunch of champions, whatever, man. It is what it is. And it's all this stuff is just generational. You take into account what you appreciate about your era, and then you just keep it pushing. And because progress will leave you behind, like time conspires to make us all old, right? So while you talk about the good old days, time still marches on, and we're still here now.
I feel like once that nonsense got to the heavyweights is when the problem spiraled out of control. Because if you look back,
I agree.
Once we were talking about who did Fury fight, who did AJ fight, who did Wilder fight, that sort of thing, and then the guys that we could only name is who they fought were not the greatest either. Nothing mattered anymore because you're like, okay, we got guys moving up because now, like you were saying just a moment ago, you can move up 10 pounds, 5 pounds, 3 pounds sometimes now and put yourself in the equation.
Yeah. Like I'm saying, there's no consequences today for choosing the easier champion in a division and calling yourself a two-time or two-weight world champion, a free-weight world champion. There's no measuring stick to it. It's just free-weight world champion.
You know how many multi-weight world champions there are? Like everybody says, yeah, Canelo's a multi-weight world champion. So is Adrian Broner. So like Leo Santa Cruz. Just take your pick. It just goes on and on and on with guys with all of these belts. I don't know. Are we saying that Loma is now as great as Adrian Broner? Like,
look, hold on before we go on down that. Jose Yepes, stop your hating, bro. Period. You keep saying what don't matter to you. Crawford, your boy Crawford, that you keep freaking nut hugging right now, Jose Yepes. It was Terence Crawford that said out his mouth, I ain't taking no pay cut. And when it came to the Spence fight, with one belt, with no stock, it was your boy Terence Crawford, Jose Yepes. It said it's 50-50. I don't care what they say. So you can sit up here and keep playing super righteous like you don't care about that. But the guy that you're protecting, that you sitting here tapping for, Jose, it was him that made this money a part of the fight not happening. So go look at the videos. Go listen to your boy say it, Jose Yepes. You can sit up here and say, I don't care about none of that. Crawford does. Crawford does, Jose.
Yeah. Like, yeah. There's
So
too
what do
many
y'all think about, like, if Crawford doesn't necessarily fight Manny going into a Spence fight, what does he have to do to be 50-50? Because, like, we need him to do something, right? That's kind of what we've already agreed on for the most part. So if it's not Pacquiao, who is it?
The only one I can think is Furman, but is he there because his last fight he lost to Pacquiao? So, does that put him up 50-50? I don't know.
Like, how does he deserve Bud, though? That's kind of where I'm coming from. When I heard Thurman, I was just like, how does he deserve Bud?
Well, I don't know. You see, I don't know. There's nobody in the welterweight division. Maybe Sean Porter, because Sean Porter gave a good fight last time around to Earl Spence Jr., but that doesn't even equate to 50-50.
Right, but I would like to see that fight, though. I'm with you on that. That's a good promise. If it may be that and Thurman,
Yeah.
It's not enough, but it's enough because we're also going to be able to say, well, now he's taking out the top guys as well, right? Minus Pacquiao, which
Yeah, but you put it like this here. He's 33 years old, so that there in Furman. By the time we get to a Spence fight, he'll be 35, maybe 36. So
right. That's crazy.
You know what I
See,
mean? Like,
yeah. The issue is, I don't think Spence is staying down there 2 or 3 years, right? I think he's moving up. And then you say, what has Thurman done to deserve Bud? A hell of a lot more than Kell Brook and Amir Khan. I mean, I get Kell else is mandatory, so I'm not going to go there. I guess he earned that mandatory spot. But Keith Thurman's the former unified champ. Like, the welterweight division is still a 7-man race with Keith Thurman firmly in the mix.
yeah.
He had more rights than Khan, Benavidez, or Kell Brook. Let's be real.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's no real measurement stick. The only thing he needs is Manny Pacquiao. But I could see Manny Pacquiao. I can really definitely see Manny Pacquiao stepping in if Errol Spence Jr. doesn't look great against Danny Garcia. I can see him stepping in, taking that fight. I really can. And I wasn't joking. I meant anyway. I can see that happening.
Hold on, because Jose, this is where you're a Crawford fanboy, fam. You acting like a Crawford fanboy right now. The interview you talking about, Jose, look at the timeline. After that interview, Crawford said he didn't care. He's not taking less than 50-50, period. So stop it, Jose. Stop it. You just don't want to admit that Crawford cares about the money just like everybody else over there at the PBC. He cares about his money. Why shouldn't he? Why shouldn't he care about his money? But don't sit here and act like it's all one-sided. That's what's wrong with you freaking Crawford fanboys. I told y'all plenty of time before. Bob Arum was doing everything he can to marinate that fight because it's more profitable for him and Al Heyman for that fight to make more money. So just stop it, Jose, and understand that Crawford is a fighter. Bob Arum's the boss. And if you don't want to accept the fact that that side caused just as much trouble as the other side of this fight happening, that's what makes you a Crawford fanboy, Jose. A fanboy, because you don't want to recognize the business side of it. So just stop your Spence hate. Stop it.
Yeah, as I said before, I don't care about the money. I just want to see them fight.
Well, see, Brian, that's the thing. Y'all can keep saying y'all don't care about the money, and we get that. But that's irrelevant because all of the people who are going to make the fight and the fighters fighting the fight, they care. So the fact I don't care about the money, we know this. I don't care about the money. But when we talk about these fights happening, we can't ignore that. And this is what Jose is doing. He's ignoring the fact that Crawford said he refused to take a fucking pay cut in a goddamn pandemic when everybody needs to take a pay cut. He refuses to accept the fact that Crawford said he don't care what Spence and them say. It's a 50-50 fight, and he's sitting there with no stock and one goddamn belt. See, Jose don't want to be honest about that. That's what makes you a fanboy when you can't accept those facts. Because you hate Spence so much, you want to call Spence a duck so much that you ignore those things. That's what makes you a fanboy. Whether you care about the money or not, that's irrelevant.
Right. And those same pay-per-view numbers that we were debating earlier, they're gonna play a role, whether we like it or not, because the people they're the ones who are paying. We're the ones who are paying if we're, not streaming it or what have you. So the money will always matter because that will determine the fight. These guys got to do what's in their best interest. And if we're gonna support them, whether it's strictly from a viewing boxing standpoint or if you're fanboying, so to speak, you would expect them, let alone want them to do the thing that's in their best interest. Would you not?
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird to be surprised and try to deny the things that factor into that. Like Bud's wild. Like, come on, it's not hard to understand that.
Here, I gotta ask Mark, is that fight anywhere in the UK? Is it on any UK TV channel? I gotta ask Mark that, right? Why I remember now. The Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, still on any channels in the UK? Because I only found out last night it was on Premier Sports. Here to Bud and Terence, so I didn't even have to stream it.
I heard it was on ESPN.
Yeah, but I'm on about UK and Ireland.
Oh, okay. I thought you guys would get that stuff too.
No, we
Probably a
don't.
different channel though, right?
No, we didn't get it. So
I won't post anything on in the chat or whatnot because we had that demonetization thing going on yesterday. But I'll share some links to some streams if you're interested.
no. If it's on a channel in the UK, I'll get it. You know, I know what streams to go on to for boxing. Don't worry about that.
Oh, okay. It's been tough for a couple fights for me, so I won't even lie.
Yeah. So wouldn't worry about that.
Terence Crawford, this Kell Brook fight, he did a terrific job. Terence Crawford is still required to step up and show more. Period. This Brook fight is not the fight that he had to show up, show us more. He didn't show us more with this Brook fight, and that's I'm not letting it go any further than that. He did his job. He did what he's supposed to do. Like Tank Davis fighting Gamboa. Tank Davis was supposed to put on a performance versus Gamboa like Terence Crawford just put on against Kell Brook. That's what was supposed to happen. Tank Davis didn't do his job. He let Gamboa take him to 12 rounds before he got knocked out. Terence Crawford did his job. This was supposed to go like this.
Yeah.
Jose, carry your receipt. Show me the other interview that I'm telling you about and look at the dates on them. Until you're going to do that, I'm not putting shit up, man. You got your receipts from, and you're still ignoring everything we just told you. So you're proving yourself to be a Crawford fanboy. Because it was more than just one video, Jose. We just went through a whole lot of things. Don Ramon told you some things. I've told you some things. But you just want to ignore all of that. And I ask you a question. Why don't you address the fact that Terence Crawford said he's not hearing no A-side 50-50 fight or nothing? Address that, Jose. Address that. Don't give me no videos. Don't give me all of this. Address the fact that your boy said that and what you got to say about it.
Yeah.
Terence Crawford got to step it up, man. Period. He still got to step it up. You know, Kell Brook was drained. That's just the point. It was a drained Kell Brook. It was drained. And people can give Spence. Look, I'm a Spence fan. Jose Yepes.
Mm-hmm.
Jose Yepes is one of these dudes that was on the Spence hate train. Back then when Spence beat Kell Brook, he didn't give Spence credit. But now he wants to sit here and suck off shit for Terence Crawford 3 years later over weight drain, bro. Jose, you ain't keeping the same energy, dude.
Yeah.
And back off, guys, like we've seen Kell Brook take a beating.
Right.
So it's like it's easy to see that he was drained. Like at the very least, you can see he's not at his tip top when he's not taking shots that we normally expect him to eat, let alone get weathered down by, right? Like if this happened maybe in like 7 to 8, we'd be like, all right, accumulation. But to see it so early, and like we all said earlier, like we've never seen him lose like that before.
Basically, it was the first proper punch Terence Crawford landed. The first proper punch in the fight he landed, and Kell Brook folded. So, that credit is limited because Kell Brook showing he doesn't have it anymore, especially at 147.
Right.
You gotta hold that energy. You gotta hold that energy. You gotta hold that same energy. You can't say, he's not the same fighter he was 3, 4, 5 years ago, Kell Brook. Nowhere near.
Yeah.
Nowhere near. The fighter who fought Triple G was a confident young man. The fighter who fought Sean Porter was a confident young man. He showed heart, he showed guts, he showed determination.
Mm-hmm.
The fighter who shot Earl Spence Jr. had those same qualities. The fighter who fought Terence Crawford didn't.
Right.
Let's hold that same energy.
I use this fight as more of a barometer for Kell Brook than for Bud, to be honest, because I wasn't expecting him to win, but I really wanted to see what he had left.
Same. Yeah.
I wasn't disappointed. Like, to be honest, I wasn't disappointed either. I thought he looked good. I thought, He's just not a top dog, but he's definitely in the mix. I wouldn't mind seeing him again.
Yeah,
Not
look,
150, 154, maybe something a little bit more reasonable though.
hold on for a second, Brian. Look, Junior Moreno. Okay, this may be the case what you're saying, but when you incline to marinate a fight, you're still ducking the fight. I don't care how you guys try to snooze it over. When somebody is not willing to take the fight for whatever reason, you could call it a duck, man. Both sides ducking. I said the same thing about Porter and Crawford when they said they didn't want to fight each other because of the friendships. I said, well, they ducking each other. Well, you're not making the fucking fight happen. You ducking the fight. Y'all can put all of these goddamn labels on it you want. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
A side, B side, duck talk, Jose. No, but if you say you're not taking a fight because it's 50-50, and the fight ain't fucking 50-50, Jose, it's ducking a fight. So stop with your Crawford fanboyism, fam. He said he was not taking the fight because he was valuing himself when he's not valued, Jose. You're not worth it, Crawford. And you and Crawford knows that, Jose. He would need a fight like Pacquiao to be worth it. So when you, Jose Yepes, cannot accept the fact that your boy is overvaluing himself in a fight, knowing that you won't get this fight if you place your value there, then you're ducking. You're ducking, Jose. You're pricing yourself out of the fight. Crawford is pricing himself out of the fight, Jose Yepes. Suck it up and stop being a Spence hater and a Crawford fanboy. Just like Floyd Mayweather. Tank is a duck in the Teofimo fight. When you sit there and overvalue Tank, knowing fucking well that Bob Arum, Teofimo, and Teofimo Sr. ain't listening to no damn inside, overvaluing Tank, you duck it, man. You don't want that fight, boy. You never put Tank in a fight that was dangerous to him anyway. So we know this is the way that you duck in that fight. But when Crawford does it, Jose wants to give him a match. That shows your partiality. You're biased, Jose. You're exposing yourself.
A side, B side is business talk. It ain't duck talk. Come on, man. When you're a champion,
he's exposing
how's that
himself.
duck talk? That makes no sense.
He's exposing himself. He just wants to hate on Spence at every level because Jose been doing it since I met him. Just anything Spence is.
Well, neither guy seems to be interested in taking that fight at the moment. So, that's the way I look at it. Neither guy.
Manny Pacquiao, they chasing the money. And why shouldn't Crawford? He should chase Manny Pacquiao. I just said that earlier. Why shouldn't he?
Pacquiao's not going to be in the game forever. These guys got to get it while the getting's good. And at that point, they can fight the other guys that are in and around their age bracket.
Yeah.
All right. Don Ramon, I've already said that's my point. I've already said that. See, this is the thing, Don Ramon. I'm a Spence fan, and I got a video out saying that he was ducking that fight. But when the Crawford fans, when it's his turn and he's ducking, they don't want to accept it. So I've been saying that, Don Ramon. Yeah, they both ducked that fight. But the Crawford fans don't want to understand this. It's just like AJ Wilder. I've said this shit before with AJ Wilder. And when I said that AJ was ducking, the AJ fans go fucking ballistic. But then they're easy to accept the fact that Wilder was ducking when, it came to him ducking, right? It's just a double standard in boxing. Both of them was ducking that fight at certain levels. AJ did some shit. Man, look, I'm not trying to hear this 50 million Hearn talking about in this fucking fictitious ass fucking email or whatever. Motherfuckers want to jump on Hearn's nuts like he wouldn't lie. He's a promoter. Boxing promoters is in their job description to lie. I think fucking Hearn is a choir boy. Cut it out, man. The fights have to happen at the right time. So there will be a time when one side ducks for whatever reason, and then the fight still doesn't happen, and then there'll be a time when the other side ducks for a certain reason. Doesn't matter. But this is how boxing works. But when one side ducks, if you're willing to say, they duck. Well, when it's the other side turn, you have to accept that they duck. they duck. And this is what doesn't go on in boxing. You fucking Crawford lovers don't want to understand when it's Bob Arum and Crawford's turn to be the ducks, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And on a side note, it's like there's a difference as far as like how we receive it, like the ducking, because when a guy ducks out of fear, we acknowledge that and we don't respect it. But when these guys are ducking each other on some business stuff, we get it, and it's just part and parcel of the business. Otherwise, these guys can fight in their backyards for no money at all, right? Like they're doing it for a living. So we do need, like, they do need to take care of their business, and we got to call it spade a spade. There's times where they're ducking and it's strictly business, and then there's times where guys duck because they know that fight is not something that they really want. That's what we find problems. So let's not worry too much about calling that spade a spade. This is what D's trying to say. Like, if a guy's ducking a fight, he's ducking a fight. He wants it later, that's cool. But like, if we heard the guy say, "I'm not ready," would we respect it more, or would we look at it like he's got a mental weakness? So let them do the business how they got to do the business.
And let me ask you this, L Dog. And you could click the link too, L Dog. But I want to ask you this since you're in the chat. Does this have to do with the accident, or did you have Crawford stopping Errol Spence before the accident? Because the people that say I think Crawford will stop Errol Spence, and they equate the accident into it. Okay, I get it. But if you just say that Terence Crawford stops Errol Spence, I would implore you to ask yourself this. Jose Benavidez went all the way until the 12th round, where Crawford literally had seconds. Now, I'm not saying 10 seconds, but it was seconds because it was under a minute. He literally had seconds before Jose Benavidez would have survived this fight without being stopped. So, for all of you guys that are so convinced, thank you, L Dog. So, this applies to you too with this bullshit. So, all of you guys that are so convinced that he would stop a fighter who is shown to have one of the best chins at 147, who has shown to be extremely durable, but it took him to the 12th round to stop a fucking one-minute Jose Benavidez, you have bumped your fucking heads, fam. You have literally bumped your heads because Spence has shown to have a granite chin. He has shown to have more durability and will offer Crawford more problems than Jose Benavidez, and y'all are just so convinced that he stopped Spence. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? I don't get it.
I feel like this is revisionist history because a lot of these people never used to say that Bud would knock out Spence. Before, it was Spence isn't really that skilled. He's not ready for a guy like Bud. So now that they kind of have that accident to switch up their narratives, they try to act like this was how Crawford was going to beat Spence the whole time. He's some power guy coming from lightweight, dominating, moving on up, and he's supposed to just destroy a body snatcher.
Right. Yeah. And granted, this is the same L Dog who said that Lomachenko would retire fucking Teofimo Lopez on the fucking stool. This is the same L Dog that just felt Lomachenko was so fucking highly skilled over Teofimo, he was going to make him look normal in there. This is the same fucking L Dog that said Teofimo's just going to come in there with the Philly shell in that right hand. See, this is the same L Dog that said this shit. So I'll tell you what I feel about his opinion on this fucking just stopping and shit. This shit is ridiculous, bro.
L Dog is for the spliff. L Dog is for the spliff. He's just rolling L's. He's hella ripped. That's what that is. He's coming with these takes after a couple L's.
Yeah. Well, I always believed Crawford could win on points against Spence, but there was also a point where I always thought if there was going to be a knockout in the fight, I thought Spence would knock out Crawford. So, like, that's just my opinion on it. If Crawford was going to win before the accident, I always thought it would be in points.
Same. Exactly how you called it.
What's up, EJ? What's good, brother?
Yo, what's good, man? Yeah, man. You saw the beat down yesterday, yo. Yeah.
Yeah, the Crawford fight. What do you think? What do you think about that fight? What do you think about that, EJ?
You know what? I ain't gonna lie to you. A lot of people around me, I didn't even care because like when it came to the fight, I thought, what was gonna happen on the fight night was gonna happen, right? Kell's gonna turn up. Eddie Hearn wasn't involved. Dominic Ingle wasn't involved. Sky don't want to put him on TV. Eddie Hearn knows something. They knew that, like, Kell, you know, he's fighting. He was fighting for the money. He took the 5 million to fight Triple G, come back down, fight Errol Spence. And Eddie Hearn kind of knew, like, you know, you've made a lot of money. You don't need to fight no more. So, but obviously, Kell Brook at this point still felt he had something left in the tank. He negotiated that fight. And and the thing is, we know about the eye injuries, but he's been fighting at 154. And anyone knows in boxing, you've been fighting at high weights, 154, welterweight, jumping up and down the weights. It takes a lot. And you can see he took a lot for him to even get down to that weight. But the first 2 rounds, he took his time, but Crawford wasn't doing that. And Crawford was playing around with him. He was just orthodox. But then when he turned southpaw, yo, good night, bro. It was over. I've never seen Kell be hit like that, yeah, and he reacted. The way he hit and reacted, bro, it looked like he looked like his brain just cancelled out. And that was it, bro. I'm glad the referee stopped it when he did. But Kell needs to think about, like, you know, his career. So I'm glad it got stopped. I'm happy for Crawford because he's got a good name on his resume to go forward and that. And let's try and get big fights for him. But for boxing, bro, like, you know, it had everyone in the UK. People were saying that they think, oh, can Kell pull it back? Can Kell roll the days back? How he beat Sean Porter? You know what I mean? But let's look at it. Yeah, since Sean Porter, he ain't fought a top level fighter since Triple G, Errol Spence, and has won against a top level fighter. So it was a hard innings, and what happened was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? So, and a lot of guys, I know some guy I know, he's put a lot of money on Kell Brook, put a lot of money, lost a lot of money, but that's who he rolled with. But you know, it's just one of them things there. I'm happy the fight stopped. The referee stopped the fight perfectly. People were arguing about the stoppage. Yeah, I was like, you talk, bruv, when he got hit, if that referee didn't jump in the first time, Kell would have got seriously damaged, bruv, because Crawford wasn't missing with nothing. What he did when he hit him, he waited, and Kell was trying to duck underneath or whatever he was trying to do, and all Crawford did is just take his time, accurately start pinning his head. I'm glad that Tony Weeks jumped in there, bro. The first stoppage, yeah, but he gave him a little bit of time. And most people think it's a championship fight, let it go on. But if he was going to let it go on, he should let that go on. I mean, they're saying the rope's holding him up and then this and that. But I think the fight, brother, he could have been over on the first when he hit the ropes. If the referee didn't intervene then, bro, Kell would have got a shellacking, bro. He would have got beat down, bro. So just one of the things.
Look, check this out, EJ. And this is the nonsense with L Dog. So he says, Brook is not a puncher. All right. Crawford is this dog. Look. They both got the same amount of knockouts. Fucking L Dog. 27. Well, Crawford got 28 now. But going into this fight, they had the exact same amount of knockouts. This is the same Kell Brook that hurt Porter. And Porter has proven to have a granite chin. But now Brook's not a puncher. Right? This is the same. See, the double standards, L Dog. You can never body me, L Dog. Ever. You can jump on, you can jump on. Let me put the link in your chat. Fool, I have body by your ass anytime you've ever tried. You're too inconsistent, you're too double standard to ever be able to body me. I will just body you off of dumb shit that you have said before. So don't even come up here trying to embarrass yourself. I promise you. What's up, B3? What's up?
What's up with D? What's up with the panel, man? What's going on? What y'all cooking on this good afternoon, man? What's going on with the
folks? Brian, I'm just putting you on mute until you talk because you got like a lot of food back coming. What's your thoughts on this Kell Brook, Terence Crawford?
I give my tip my hat to Kell Brook because he didn't have to take the fight. I think I get people saying he was weight trained. And I understand where people will understand that, will make that argument. I understand that completely. But at the same time, as coming from a fighter perspective, Kell Brook didn't take the fight thinking that he had bad punch resistance. I think, he probably had good resistance to sparring. He probably felt real confident about himself going into the fight. And because the Kell Brook you see before the fight and the Kell Brook you see after is two different Kell Brooks. The confidence, the way he felt going into the fight. You saw he was mentally there. It wasn't a guy showing up for a check or just showing up just to, be a punching bag. He was showing up to win the fight. He felt he could compete at that level. But I think the weight was too much, because the dude, it really should be at 160. Let's be real, or at 54 at the most. Should be at 54, 160. He has no business at 147, but he felt that he could make the weight, and he felt that he could win. And I want to give him props and credit for actually taking the fight, regardless of the outcome of it. And Crawford did what Crawford was gonna do. I didn't think he was gonna do it that way. I honestly thought it was gonna be a more drawn out fight, but it wasn't. And Crawford did what he was supposed to do. He won the fight, and it's on to the next now.
No, that's fire breakdown, boo, and that's what I'm talking about. Like pure honesty, fam. Because it's not taking nothing away from Brook. I agree with everything Boone said right there. Like Brook, all shot is the same respect that I gave to Leo Santa Cruz. I gave the same respect to Leo Santa Cruz. I said Leo Santa Cruz gets no heat in this fight. He is the one that's taking the real challenge. Because when the odds are stacked against a fighter, whether it be Mikey Garcia going up 2 weight classes, Leo Santa Cruz fighting Tank, Gamboa fighting Devin Haney, Kell Brook fighting this Crawford fight, draining down. When the odds are stacked against a fighter, much respect goes to that fighter because they're the one taking on the extreme challenge. This is a fight that they shouldn't win. But when the other fighter wins, don't sit there and act like this was a fight that they were in there to lose. And that's what I'm saying about Kell Brook. This was a fight he shouldn't win. And the results showed us that this was a fight that he shouldn't win. That's what the results showed us. His fucking face. Y'all remember Skeletor, He-Man? Skeletor. That's what Kell Brook's face looked like last night. Skeletor. That shit was sunken. You could fucking see that he was drained. Just look at his face. You can see he was fucking drained. This was a fight he was not supposed to win. And the results showed me that I was correct with that assessment prior to the fight. That he ain't supposed to win this fight. That's what the results showed me. John Daly, what's good with you, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Steve. The thing I'm frustrated with about this whole conversation is the fact that Kell's done loads of stupid things with his career, throughout his career. What I do know, D, is how much credit you give Spence for beating Kell.
How much credit do I give Spence 3 years ago for beating Kell Brook?
It's not about the time lapse, though.
I'm going to ask it, but I'm asking it like this: how much credit do I give Spence 3 years ago for Kell Brook coming off of a GGG fight 9 months prior, right, and then coming down to weight? Decent amount of credit. Right? Because I was never the one to put all of this, that, and the third. The credit was for me for Spence going into his backyard, taking that belt, right? And taking it out of the referee's hands. But as far as the fighter and his conditioning, I accepted that. But Spence had other fucking things going against him. How much credit do I give it to Crawford fighting a Kell Brook 3 years later, who we know was drained, who's been fighting at 154? I give him less credit, y'all. So that's how I wanted to answer that question.
Well, I want to address that.
Hold on. Respond, Smoke, because you do.
I just want to say what's up to Boone. That's it.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Go ahead, John.
Because when they announced the Triple G fight, I was extremely pissed about it because Spence was the mandatory. And I was looking forward to Brook versus Spence because I thought Brook could have beat him. As soon as they announced that Triple G fight, I knew that Kell Brook was done, and that was it. And he went straight from 160 pounds, got his face broken, and when you get an orbital bone broken and they put a metal plate in, it increases the likelihood that the other side will break because you've got an extremely strong side and an extremely weak side. And lo and behold, although he was doing all right, he broke his face again. And he took that Triple G fight because he's got a strange obsession with Amir Khan. And Amir Khan had already fought Canelo. So he was trying to outdo Amir Khan and wrecked himself. And he starts yo-yoing from 160 to 147 to 154. Kell Brook has been done since they announced that Triple G fight, as far as I'm concerned.
I wouldn't say he was done since the Triple G fight.
Well, every time he's fought top opposition since then, he's lost.
I mean, Triple G
he got his face snapped. He got his face snapped
I think
by
what Kell Brook
Spence. He
did is
got
he
his
fought too
face
soon.
snapped by Spence, and that probably wouldn't have happened if he hadn't have already got a metal plate on his other orbital. If you go and look at it, if you go and look at the ramifications of having that metal plate put in, the amount it increases the likelihood of the other side going if you get punched in the face. It's massive. It's something like a 75% increase in the likelihood of it happening. And he went from 160 pounds to 147 pounds in 9 months and had the surgery. So he wasn't cutting weight when he was recovering from that metal plate being put in his face. That weight cut was a fast turnaround, and he looked like a raisin, and he looked like Skeletor when they weighed him in Sheffield as well. Like he was weight drained for both fights.
All right, boom. John pauses a lot in between, so but he won't finish. But go ahead, boom.
Well, what I was going to say is what Kell Brook. Well, you're correct. That's what happened, but that's where he made the mistake. He should not have fought Errol Spence so soon, or if Errol Spence was a mandatory and he had to take that fight, he shouldn't have took the Triple G fight. That should not have happened. He should have avoided that fight and then fought his mandatory and Errol Spence. In my personal humble opinion, I really think a healthy prime Brook beat Spence, in my humble opinion, because what I saw in the Spence fight, and this is a beat up Brook at this time, Brook was giving Spence some work, and that's a beat up.
That's exactly why I was pissed about it when they announced the Triple G fight. I was fuming at the time. I totally agree with what you're saying, Boom. Completely.
So I think he should never.
Go ahead, Boom.
He shouldn't have never took that, went about his career in that way. And plus, as you said before, I agree with it. The going from 160 to 47 within that short of a time span, and you haven't been at that weight and maintaining that weight for a long period, that's putting your body through a tremendous shock. And that is also bad for you too. It's like me fighting at 47 and then my next fight is at 26. Not a good idea. It's not a good thing for me to do. It's too much of a shock for my body. I'm not going to be as strong. I'm putting myself through too much mental and physical, emotional strain. It's just not a good idea to do. And I think that was very bad for Kell Brook to go about his career in that way. I think he could have gave his career a couple more years if he wouldn't have fought Triple G the way he did it. Because I really believe that he would have beat Errol Spence if he would not have taken that Triple G fight. Because that Triple G fight played a lot in why Errol Spence beat him. And I give Errol Spence, and to answer your question, because really I wanted to answer your question, John, was I give Errol Spence really credit for it because he went over there.
Yeah.
I know Kell Brook was beat the fuck up. And all that. I really don't feel that. But I do give Errol credit because he went over to somebody else's backyard and won the belt. So I give him credit in that sense, and only in that sense.
I'm happy with that level of credit. I just want to say one thing.
John, real quick. John. Real quick. Let me respond to this in the chat. We got everybody on the panel, people in the chat, and people in the chat saying some stuff that I gotta respond to. Cat, with this comment, I want you to give me your answer to this. Did Terence Crawford take advantage of a drained Brook? Give me that answer to that, Cat. Go ahead, John.
What's up, Smoke?
Well, all I was going to say was I agree that Spence should have the credit for going over to the UK because he went and did that. He went and he was the B-side and he did it, and it's not his fault because he was a mandatory. That's Brook went and fought Triple G.
Yeah, well, again, I love to see people just, again, we're talking about a Brook that was definitely, in my opinion, more suited as far as weight drain is concerned than he was in this Terence Crawford fight. Because it's 3 years later, he's almost 34, man. Or 35, I think. He's 34. I think he's almost 35. Whatever. He's a mid-30s is old in athletics, man. So this is 3 years later. He's been fighting at 154. So I don't understand how people don't see that he was going to be extremely drained in this fight. If he could still fight at 147, what the fuck did he ever move up to 154 in the first place? He was a big welterweight back then. He moved up to 154 because he's older and cutting weight don't suit you when you get older in boxing, combat sports in general. It doesn't suit you to do that. So you move up in weight. So you don't have to worry about that. And then he cuts down to 147. Like, come on. And Cat, you still didn't put the answer to that question in there. Did Terence Crawford take advantage of a drained Brook? I was thinking you should alone and type me my answer. Did Terence Crawford just take advantage of a weight drain Kell Brook? Give me that answer, Cataclaw, my sister, my queen. But yeah, that's what I think about that, man. And we gotta take all of this into account. Remy 22, what's up? What's up? Remy said not the same confident. Brook, hold on, let me put that up. Not the same confident Brook, but he didn't duck and fought as best as he could, looking like a mosquito. Respect the Kell Brook, in all honesty. Yeah, no doubt. Respect the Brook, but at the same time, though, he lost. The dude lost. Yeah, see, ain't no, you can't. See, this is the thing. If you love Crawford and you hate Spence, then you can't keep the same energy on those type of things. You can sit up here like Jose Yepes and say, "Oh, well, Spence took advantage of a broken Brook," but you can't say Crawford took advantage of a weight drain Kell Brook, because it burns you. It burns your tongue. You don't want to say those kind of things. It's easy to take a shot at the guy you don't like, but then you feel like, oh, that I can't say that about Crawford. That's exactly what the fuck you can say. Or you can't say the other. That's called keeping it straight, keeping the same energy. You can't say that.
The thing is, Crawford also took advantage of the fact that Brook is injured. Those orbital burns still aren't right. And you look like he was having flashbacks and all sorts.
Look, look. Rehydration cough. Cat, see, and you in the medical, see, this is the bullshit. This is the bullshit, Cat. You killing yourself. You're killing yourself. Now, as much as you done came up here and slammed me about the medical, you already know better than that, Cat. Because you put on a fucking bunch of water weight, don't mean you can't be drained, Cat. Stop it. And you know this. You know this. The fluid around the brain, Cat. You know this. Look at fucking Brooks' face. Yeah, I know. See? You can't pull that over on me. Hell no. You can't do nothing but laugh, because I know you know all of these factors. Stop that shit. That dude was drained like a motherfucker. And they knew he would be drained. So I've been fighting at 154. So if you're going to sit up here and say, oh, Spence took advantage of this type of Brook, well, Crawford just took advantage of this type of Brook. You have to say the same thing about Crawford then. And then if you feel like he took advantage of him and you don't want to give him the credit, then you have to say that your guy took advantage of him and you can just give him equal or as little credit. See? But they don't want to do that. They want to give their guy credit and they want to rob credit from the other guy. Nah. Well, give Spence his props. That's the thing. This is what I'm trying to tell you. If you go, then give Spence's props. Stop talking about the broken eye and all of this foolery. Or keep the same with Crawford. He didn't really do much. Because if you're going to say Spence didn't really do much because of a lack of what Brook was, then you have to say Crawford really didn't do much right now. But y'all reluctant to do that. It's about not giving Crawford his props. No. It's just like Unbiased said earlier. I didn't give Spence much credit, so I'm not going to give Crawford much credit either. And Unbiased is a Crawford fan. That's keeping it a buck. That's keeping it a buck right there. Now, see, look. It's like pulling teeth. Look at this shit. It's like pulling teeth, Cat. I will say that Brooks seemed healthier, though. It's like pulling teeth. Hell to the no. It ain't going down like that. y'all crazy, man. Well, what's next for y'all great Terence Crawford if he doesn't get the Pacquiao fight? Because right now, if it ain't Pacquiao or Sean Porter, I want to know you Ugas, which don't make sense. What is it? What's next for the great Terence Crawford if he doesn't get the Pacquiao fight? What you think, Obi? Obi, you there? You on mute, fam.
No, my bad. I'm taking care of my dog right quick.
Oh, my bad.
Like we were saying earlier, I feel like maybe a combination of a Sean Porter, maybe a Keith Thurman. I'm not necessarily feeling that, but I feel like Porter's last fight, despite a loss, was obviously a really good fight. He looked good. So it would be a good barometer. Again, it would keep the interest with the Spence fight. That's the main one that I'm thinking of, but I feel like I could be forgetting somebody.
Yeah. No. I mean, that's your opinion, and that's good. It's better fights than we've seen him in, Obi. You know what I mean? So yeah, or I would say better level of competition than we've seen him in, because
Right.
Sean Porter is definitely Sean Porter, probably stronger than the Sean Porter he was when he fought Brook back in the day. Brook ain't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So Sean Porter
Mhm.
has not regressed. Sean Porter has gotten stronger and probably better because he's been fighting top level competition. Brook hasn't. Brook has declined drastically, and he was weight trained. So yeah, they would definitely be better than what we've seen out of Crawford at 140, at 147. So John, what do you think? What do you think next for Crawford? Should he not get the Pacquiao fight?
I don't think he's going to get the Porter fight either, but I would like it. Ugas is okay. I'd take that because I've heard rumor, and I don't know if it's true, that after Garcia, if Spence wins, they're going to do the Porter rematch.
Yeah, I heard that too, which is absolutely ridiculous. But Spence just came out and denounced that twice, two separate interviews actually. And he sounded like it's off the table, but who knows? But Spence said it's Pacquiao and Crawford next, and he's going to 154. And then he came back and he reiterated it in a different interview. It's Pacquiao and Crawford next, and he's going to 154. So,
So if that happens, I think Ugas is okay.
yeah, I got you. Smoke, what you think? Not Pacquiao. What's next for Bud? If not Pacquiao, what's next for Bud? Smoke, wake up. Put down the blunt. I don't
Ugas?
know. Smoke might. Yeah,
Y'all
Ugas.
think Ugas has enough to be in the ring with Bud?
No, I don't think Ugas will win. But what do we have? What do we have next? Because if Danny and Spence, this would be the assumption that Spence has beaten Danny, right? Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Danny, you don't put him in the ring with Danny. He's lost. That means every step up fight he's ever taken at 147, he's lost. That would be Thurman. That would be Porter, and then it would be Spence, right? So Danny
Right.
wouldn't really be in the picture. You know what I mean? So then you got Porter, or then you got Ugas. So he was going with Ugas, which I think
Yeah.
is fair because who else is it? Who's left?
Yeah. And from a technical boxing standpoint, I mess with Ugas. It's just like Bud just kind of is an upgrade on him, but it is still a really good fight though. I would just kind of expect that to be like this Brook fight that we saw. But
You know what's funny,
it's tough.
Obi? Obi? I kind of agree. Like 5 or 6, Crawford put Ugas out because I just watched Abel Ramos clock Ugas at the 11th and 12th round of that fight they just had and rocked him both times, right? And I'm just imagining to myself Crawford with that long ass reach. He definitely hits harder than Abel Ramos. I see exactly what you're saying there. Like 4 or 5, he might like go run through Ugas too. Like I don't put Ugas on the level of Terence Crawford or Spencer, these guys, but I'm saying just like who's left, like who would be left,
Right.
and Ugas. You know what I'm saying?
I'd rather see the Porter fight, but I think he's going to be tied up with Spence. That's my point.
Right.
But Spence isn't looking at it though, right? So Spence is
Nah,
like, if we're at least taking him at his word, he's more likely to just dismiss that fight, and that might free it up for Terence Crawford. So then we do get the fight that we really want to see. It'll be
yeah.
tough.
Okay. They're not like that's the thing. Spence
No,
ain't
I'm here. Hold up. If not Pacquiao, that list was excellent from way back when. We got Thurman, Porter, Ugas, all those work.
Yeah.
There's any of those guys are absolutely fine for me.
Oh yeah, we forgot Thurman, Obi. That's a fact, smoke. Because I will put Thurman over Ugas. I do think he's once upon a time Thurman, but to be honest, I'm not high on Ugas, so I even think once upon a time Thurman is a little more difficult than Ugas. And I don't expect Crawford to just run through him in 4 or 5 rounds. So I did forget about Thurman.
That's true. Like if Keith sits down for a while and actually gets back into some type of shape, but the mental, because it feels like he was in good physical shape against Pacquiao, but mentally,
Right.
maybe it was just the aura of Pacquiao because he was shook.
He just moves better than Ugas, and he offers more. Like Thurman still got pop, right? So we can't, Crawford still got to be careful because if Gideon's Kavialaskas drop Thurman, then Crawford, then you best believe that Keith Thurman still got a little wallop to put him down. Or at least respect, give Crawford something to respect. And Thurman offers a lot more offensively than Ugas, in my opinion. Thurman can box. We still gotta remember Thurman can box.
I just think Berman's heart's not in it anymore. He just wants to catch fight.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
If it was like a prime or in shape or motivated Thurman, I'd be interested, but I just don't think he's interested, so I'm not.
Yeah, I think it's a check. It's the next check for Keith Thurman, John. Like, I'm with you there. It's the next check. What up, L Dog? What you got to say? Talking about
Yo,
some
what up,
body and
D?
boy, you must be crazy, man. What's good with you, dog?
Man, first of all, I'm gonna say this. Regardless of what people are saying about Brook, I was still impressed with Crawford because I expected him to have more difficulty than he did. I was picking Crawford to stop him late, maybe around the 9th round or something like that, but he did it early, and Crawford looked sensational in my opinion. Now, when it comes to Bud versus Spence, one of the most anticipated fights in all of boxing. Man, I think Crawford will stop him late, and I've thought so before the car accident. I think Crawford is a better boxer. I think Crawford has more power than everyone Brook has fought. And I think, than Spencer's fought. And I think Spencer's defense is extremely poor. The guy is there to be hit, more so than most fighters. I think Crawford will outfight him and stop him late, especially now that there's been the car accident, the reconstructed jaw. I think Crawford is just better.
L Dog. See, you already know I'm not gonna get you let you give no lies out here. Reconstructive surgery on your jaw is something that happened to one of my friends. He got hit in the face with a bat and he had to have reconstructive surgery on his jaw. Getting teeth replaced, you idiot, is not reconstructive surgery on your jaw. So stop that foolishness. Stop it.
Doesn't that give him an added motivation in life if you want to kind of
Yeah,
add
yeah, yeah.
side intangibles? You know what I mean? Renewed focus, because it's like he had a lot to gain. It wasn't like he was on top of the world and kind of playing around with his life, right? He was on the come up, so you could look at it like that. Also gives him added focus. He's looking at
Yeah,
it like I'm not fighting any more bums. I'm fighting Pacquiao. I'm fighting Bud, and then I'm going up to fight the big dogs. Him being there to be hit, I agree. It's hard to argue against that, but that's kind of part of Spence's style in the sense of he doesn't fear these guys. So he fights differently when you give him something to think about, but that doesn't happen often enough. That's kind of the thing we were talking about earlier between Bud and Spence, where like guys are not testing them enough for them to necessarily show every tool that they have in their bag.
Oh, miss me with that. Brook was giving Spence, every test there was, and Spence passed, but it was a hell of a fight, and you can't say that fight didn't bring out the best of Spence. That was that was my fight of the year that year. So when it's a fight of the year like that, you're bringing the best out of both guys, in my opinion.
But then think about Spence and Porter, right? Like Porter brought a lot out of Spence. You could say maybe even more than Brook, but like time changes, right? Like so they improve over time. And we're discussing with Brook that he's kind of deteriorated over time. So Spence, you can kind of use that as a watermark, but of course they've improved over time. Both fighters have.
They have, but the thing is, man, one thing I'll say about Crawford in general is I think, Teddy Atlas I'm not really a fan of Teddy Atlas, but I remember him saying something a while back about Bud being the best instinctual kind of fighter he's seen, and I really agree with that, man. I trust Bud's instincts, his instincts, his overall fighting instincts and his senses. It's kind of like watching an animal in some sense, how instinctual he is and how he just knows what to do. It's not necessarily his supreme technical ability, which he is a very good technical boxer, but he's just overall a natural fighter. It's like he's fighting, with a sixth sense or something.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I
Yeah,
agree 100%.
yeah. I
That's
was about to say.
it in his finishing. That's where you
Oh,
see
go
it
ahead,
the
go
most.
ahead.
It's finishing, or sometimes when he gets caught on the back foot because of how he makes those adjustments. But when he smells blood, it's like no other.
No,
Yeah,
no.
and that's why I want to
Hold
say I
on,
think
hold
the
on, hold
way to
on.
beat.
I was getting ready to jump in there, but I let Obi go. Now I actually agree with you. So just slow down before you say something else crazy, and I'll be all over you all like white on rice. So you keep trying to slide shit in there, but I ain't even gonna say nothing else because you did just try to slide something else in there. Well, I'm gonna let you live because you said something that I agree with about Crawford. Now Terence Crawford got that dog in him, man. He does. He does. He does have that killer instinct in him. And that's what I like about Bud Crawford. And see, um, it's like this. Obi, let me put you on mute for so you got that feedback. So with Terence Crawford, I've always said this, even though bias no, because we don't went back and forth about Spence and Crawford. I've always said that nobody can beat these guys. They'll accept themselves. Like I don't see nobody beating Spence at 47, but Crawford. I don't see nobody really beating Crawford at 47, but Spence. So I'm not taking any credit away from Bud Crawford. I think that Errol Spence that fought Kell Brook, if that Errol Spence had this Kell Brook to face, he would have absolutely demolished him. He would have absolutely demolished him if he was that drained coming in there against Errol Spence. And I don't care what anyone says. So that's the amount of credit that I would give to Bud Crawford. But not to say what Bud Crawford couldn't do in that ring because Bud Crawford's a great boxer. So I've always thought that these are the two guys to beat each other. And that's the level that I hold Bud Crawford to, a level of the best, right? I don't hold these other guys at a level to the best. It's like Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. I don't think nobody beat you, my dude Fury, but Joshua. And the Andy Ruiz situation, Joshua did what he had to do to get over that, do some tools in this game. And I don't really think none of these guys beat him. I don't think none of these guys are beating Joshua, but Fury. So those are the type of fights I want to see. I knew Teofimo was going to be Lomachenko. I don't know that Spence is going to beat Crawford. I just feel like he'll beat Crawford. I knew
Man,
Teofimo was
That's a
going
good
to beat
point. That's a
Lomachenko.
good point to make because the same way you were questioning with the Fury, it was like Fury could have taken that L to Wilder if depending on how you want to do the count. So they would
Right.
have been in the same boat of just kind of having a slip up fight. I do want to go back to a question that you posed earlier, D. You asked us for Crawford, if it's not Pacquiao, who do we got? And Smoke went missing and then chimed in to kind of do a little bit of critiquing, but I didn't hear his selection.
Thurman.
I didn't do it. I didn't do any.
But Thurman, he put Thurman in there.
Oh, okay.
man, I'll tell you who I want to see him fight. The winner of Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez.
No, man.
I think the winner of that fight will be a good opponent for Bud, but I think Bud will be too much. And previous to this, I was saying Josh Taylor might actually be able to beat Crawford, but nah, I think Crawford still got too much for him. I mean, the problem with I'm not going to get into that, but back onto the Spence topic, man. I don't really look at Spence as a boxer like that. I don't really think he's of the level where he's the only man who can kind of beat himself or whatever. Nah, I'm telling you, his defense is is not very good. You know, he's already 30 years
Hold
old.
on, hold
I
on,
don't see
hold on.
anything outstanding with his
Yeah,
offense
yeah, yeah.
either.
Hold on. You sound the exact same that you telling me what you think and you know, as you was telling me about Lomachenko Teofimo. You sound the exact same. And I'm gonna tell you just like this, L Dog. You ain't paying attention enough to Spence. You're only paying attention to what you want to see. Spence has these things you're saying he doesn't have. Just like Teofimo had those things, that jab, controlling the distance, footwork. He has those things you're saying he doesn't have. And that's why you're assessing the fight wrong. Now, if he doesn't have those things, you're correct, L Dog. But you're missing it. Spence does have it.
But hold on, man. Because you mentioned the one prediction that I got wrong, but you never mentioned all the ones I got right.
Because we agree. You know why? Because I got it right too. Your head was on right. But other than that, when you get them wrong, I'm always there to correct you, but you don't want to listen. You know?
Nah, man, listen, I'm listening, but I really think Bud, man, the difference in skill and fighting instincts is just too much. I think he's a better fighter instinctually than Spence. I think he's got better footwork than Spence. He's more versatile than Spence. Hell, I think Bud has more power than Spence. I really believe that. Bud, people think Bud doesn't have power because he moved up at 135. Bud was never a 135 or a 140-pound fighter, man. He was always a 147-pounder who drained himself to get down in weight. Now he is at his natural weight. Now he has his natural power.
What?
And I think, Bud is actually a big puncher.
Okay, L Dog. Hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Obi, let Buckshot jump in here. He just jumped on the panel. What's up, Buckshot? Buckshot, you there?
Yo, what's up, man?
What's good?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I disagree with everything that guy just said, man. And I think he's the worst. Like he's like the worst type of Bud Crawford fan, bro. Because I don't even think he really liked Bud Crawford like that. I think it's probably
I'm not a
some
Bud
other
Crawford fan.
Hold on, L Dog. Let him rock. Go ahead.
Okay, well, you spoke about him like you're a fan of his skills. So why aren't you a fan of Bud Crawford's skills? Are you a fan of boxing?
Yeah, I'm a boxing fan, but I'm not really a Bud Crawford fan. The only fighters I'm really a fan of is Filip Hrgović and Tim Tszyu Vasyl Lomachenko. Those are the only three fighters I'm really a fan of.
Yeah. And look, Buckshot, I will vouch for L Dog. If it's not Eastern European or New Zealand, yeah, he's telling the truth. He's not really a fan, because this dude don't even get him started on this fucking.
As a boxing fan, I admire Crawford. He is a phenomenal fighter. He is a generational. He's someone who just in any area of life. Sometimes you see people who are just born to do something. And that is what Crawford is. He was born to box.
So
Crawford promotional? Cut it out. Rank didn't even do that good for fucking Crawford leading up to this fight, man. Cut that bullshit.
So why wouldn't you be a Bud Crawford fan if the way you describe and everything? Because you sound like you work for a Top Rank. So
no, fuck bro, that. Hold on. We ain't doing this. We're not going back. No. Buckshot, what do you think? Let me ask you a question. Fuck these questions to L Dog and his fucking Terence Crawford promotional. Buckshot, what do you think about Crawford's performance in this fight last night? What do you think?
I think Bud Crawford, because I have him ranked number one as my pound for pound best fighter. I think he did what he was supposed to do, which was beat Kell Brook. I didn't think he was going to beat him that quickly. I thought the fight was very much so. I thought it was a good fight. I thought the first 3 rounds, like they were basically playing chess. And I think that Bud Crawford respects Kell's power, so he wasn't going to just jump in there. But Bud Crawford is a notorious slow starter. But I wouldn't even call it slow starting. I think he's just computing and trying to figure out what am I dealing with. Trying to gauge the guy's power, his, what type of skills this guy has. But Kell Brook is a very much so skilled fighter. I mean, his resume doesn't really tell the truth about it as far as his skills go, right? But like nobody put a gun to his head and told him to go the route that he took and the route that he went, right? So, but he's got a good jab, he's got good power. He's that classical 1-2 hold type fighter. Like I said, he's got good power. He has every punch. He throws a good hook too, and he's strong. All right. He knew he was gonna fight Bud Crawford. I remember when Bud tapped him on the stomach or the chest or whatever, and he was like, "Yo, he's like, you sure you can make 147?" Like that was in February. That was for the weekend for the Fury versus Wilder rematch. So it's not like Brook didn't know what was going on, and that was what 10, 11 months ago. So with that said, he knew he was gonna fight him. So he'd been preparing and making weight. He looked strong in there. He lumped up. He put he had Buck Crawford's eye all like lumped up or whatever a little bit. I mean, he's a good fighter. He's a strong fighter. It's just that Bud made the proper adjustments. He noticed something. He hopped in. That's what he's good at. Bud is good at with the distance, and even though he's tall, I mean, even though he's got long reach, he likes to get in close so he can. He's at 147. He's a power puncher. Like he's a power puncher, right? So his power is carried, all that good shit. As far as the fight goes, like I said, man, I mean, I give him credit for the fight, but I mean, look, Kell Brook wasn't coming off a loss. His face was as healed as it possibly would ever be. All right, he break a bone. I mean, 3.5 years ago, that's when he sustained the injury. That was 3.5 years ago. So I mean, I like to think that he actually still was active. He was fighting at a higher division than 147. So he was taking shots in the face from guys who are bigger than Bud, taller than Bud, stronger than Bud. Right? Some music like a guy like Zarafa. I mean, I'm not, saying Zarafa's the world beater, but he's a decent fighter, and his height and weight and size. So if Kell Brook could take punches from those guys at 154 pounds, and he didn't complain about it, so his face. Like I said, I just think that Bud is a very, very good fighter, and he did what he had to do. I wasn't expecting it to end like that though, bro. I mean, that was early, bro. It was only the fourth round. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Kell's face has been smashed to pieces. What do you expect? He moves down, and now he can't even take punches from guys like Bud. That's what this is.
I mean, wait, say that
Or
again, bro.
Bud punches harder than we're giving him credit for.
Say that again, man.
I feel like we were giving Bud a lot of credit, but like when we're looking at Brook, it's like his face has been smashed several times. So when he moves down and he's not at his best, what are you expecting him to do? Like, how could he really, like, that chin's not gonna move down? It's broken already.
So if his chin was broken down, then why the fuck he didn't break down that 154 with the 3 fights he fought against 3 guys who were bigger than him?
Because weight training affects punch resistance.
Thank you.
It's been proven time and time again.
Yeah,
Your
for
physical
sure.
composition changes. Therefore, what you can withstand changes. Just like what you can dish out will change as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well,
All day long.
my bad. Go ahead, D. My bad.
No, I was just saying all day long. That's what I was saying earlier. That when you drain. Listen, man. Listen. For all of the people who just stepped in, appreciate y'all coming in. But I just want to repeat this because we were saying this earlier. When you weight drain, this is fluids around your brain protection. Okay, muscles in your when guys weight drain themselves. This is what you gotta understand. They eat away at the muscle, man. There's no more fat left for to be eaten away. So when you cutting weight like that, the only thing that there's going to be eaten is the muscles. The muscles around that jaw. You know how these guys are in good shape and they look healthy and that jaw is chiseled. You can see the muscles when they chew and when they talk. All of that shit goes away when you weight training yourself. So now you got less fluid around your brain. You fucking the muscle and shit that's supposed to protect your organs and shit. Those muscles down there by your abdominal muscles and around your liver and shit. If you weight draining like that, you begin to eat into muscle, and it's harder to put muscle back on. That's why just simply drinking a lot of fucking water and fluids and rehydrating means but so much because it's still a lot of that resistance, that resilience that you had before you cut into that. It's gone now. That's why it's not safe to cut but so much weight, hence being weight drained. When you weight drain, your reflexes, your speed, your timing, a lot of that shit is off. Your power is less. The Brook that was not weight drained is hitting harder than the Brook that is weight drained. That's what you people got to understand about being weight drained. It matters. It's not to take anything from Crawford or to say he's less of who he is. Crawford is great. He's done a pound for a reason. Okay? But if Brook was drained, He was drained, and it affected a lot of things.
Well, I've heard
D,
like I've heard like generally like Kell Brook, if something's wrong, he'll like tell you. Like if he was drained, he had his excuses after the Errol Spence fight. He had his excuses after the Triple G fight. But with this fight, he didn't have any excuses, and he claimed that he wasn't drained. He claimed that he felt good. He looked good in the first round. He looked good in the second round. It's not like Bud didn't make contact with him in the first round. It's not like Bud didn't make contact with him in the second round. It's not like Bud didn't make contact with him in the third round. He looked good in the first two rounds. Two of the three judges had Kell Brook winning the fight when the fight was stopped. All right, he was getting he was getting hit with shots from Bud. All right, like I said, Bud made it. Bud made it. Hold up, let me finish, bro. Bud made the proper. He noticed something, whatever. He made the proper corrections, or he made some changes. He altered some shit. He got him real close, and he caught him with a fucking one of his signature punches, like when he goes to southpaw, because he's naturally right-handed, so that's a strong hand, right? Just like Cotto. Cotto was naturally a right-handed. Was a naturally left-handed. But he fought right-handed, and that left, that was his signature left hook. That's why it was so powerful. He caught the man. He caught the man with a nice little right hook, right? Caught Brook while Brook was coming in, and while Bud was leaning forward, and Brook was coming in. Caught him with a lead right hook. It was nice, perfectly timed, because Kell Brook was throwing his punch too, right? And he caught Bud on the chin with it a little bit. Kell Brook is very much so technical. If you look at the punch stats, I just rewatched the fight again. The fucking all the announcers were actually raving Kell Brook's name, and they were really like on his nuts. They weren't giving Bud props, right? They were saying that Kell Brook made more contact with Bud than anyone that Bud's fought, and like so like he looked good. Nobody claimed that he looked drained. He didn't say he looked drained after the fight, but nobody claimed during the fight that he looked drained or anything was wrong with him until after Bud knocked him the fuck out.
All right, Buckshot. Do you know what a fighter looks like when they're drained, Buckshot? Do you know what a fighter looks like when they're weight drained? What about these biased ass commentators?
Of course. But what I'm saying is Kell Brook.
Hold on, Buckshot. You just went off on a rant, so I'm just asking you this question, not for you to go off again.
Yeah, I wasn't going on a rant. I was saying that Brooks said he wasn't drained after the fight. He didn't make an excuse.
I did that.
First time.
I'm asking you, do you know what a fighter?
Yeah, their face looks the same thing. They all look at the same way Danny Garcia looking at right now.
Okay, right.
The same way they all do.
All right, hold on.
I've got I think I can clear this up easily though.
You can, but at least let me do this first, because it's really simple, and I'll let you go right after this. Buckshot, if you know what a fighter looks like when he's drained, it doesn't really much matter what he says. If you could look at Kell Brook's face in that locker room before he went out, it's just what you just said, sunken in. Face was somewhat sunken in. He was pale.
After he rehydrated? After he rehydrated?
Yes. That's my whole point. Go back and look at that. Go ahead, John. Say what you was gonna say.
Okay. So you just said you watched the fight back again. Did you notice how easily Crawford turned Brook in the clinches? This is a Brook that out-clinched Sean Porter, one of the strongest welterweights in the game, and he was still strong then. Do you think that Bud would do the same thing to Porter? One of the indications that you're weight drained is that you lose your physical strength. You might look good. You might look good when you're standing there aesthetically, but the actual power output that you have is severely diminished. And if you go back and watch the fight,
his performance look good, bro. I'm not
Buckshot. We ain't been having this all day, fam. We've been letting everybody talk. You got to just wait. Go ahead, John, and you got the floor after John.
Well, that's pretty much my point. If you actually go back and watch the fight, in the clinches, Crawford was having his way with Brook, and this is a Brook that had his way with Porter in the clinches when they fought. And to me, that's a clear indication that Kell's strength was severely diminished, because that's a large part of clinching. It isn't. There's some skill, but it really is a test of strength. And if you go back and watch that, Crawford was just turning Brook like he was nothing. And that, to me, is the clearest indication that actually Brook was severely weight drained. I'm not taking away from Crawford because the adjustments that he made and the way that he landed the punch shows his level of skill. But you can't overlook the fact that Kell Brook is normally a pretty resilient fighter, particularly at 147. And whilst it was a fantastic shot, I think his punch resistance is completely gone because he's shot.
You mean okay? Well, there's so much there to unpack there. All right, so I just want to ask you: are you finished, man? You finished? Okay, all right, yeah. Well, you done and finished. All right, so check this out. The main indication, right? The basis of your fucking argument is that because Bud Crawford was able to move Kell Brook. In other words, Kell Brook didn't put up much of a fight. Who's to say that Kell Brook wasn't putting up a fight? Who's to say that? Have you ever seen? Is Bud Crawford not a trained, like, fucking guy who can wrestle and tussle with you and shit like that? You said that is all about strength. That's how you win it. No, it's about technique. That's why a skinny guy in Bud Crawford was able to manhandle Jeff Horn, a guy who immediately went to 160 after their fight. That's why a guy like Bud Crawford has been able to manhandle everyone that tries to wrestle or tussle with him. All right? No, because in your mind, Kell Brook is Superman and he can't lose any type of fucking tussle or any type of thing like that. That doesn't mean you're right. You know what I mean? Like, so you're saying you can't disregard that? Well, I'm disregarding it. How could you use that as the basis of your point? And that's the main reason why you feel like Kell Brook was drained or Kell Brook is weak. Man, that's a washed ass, bullshit ass, biased ass fucking UK fucking.
I haven't insulted you. I like
how are you gonna
Terence
tell me
Crawford.
that? Who have you seen manhandle Bud? Most of the
Buckshot. Look, I don't know how long you've been listening to this panel or how long you've been like a member to this channel. But there's certain shit I don't even allow up here. And you like crossing the line on some other shit. I don't even care how people do it on their channels. Well, we keep it respectful and G up here, fam. That man didn't
my bad, bro.
He ain't disrespect you in no way. Like, I don't even do that type of shit over here. Another thing is this, man. Just like do your best to keep it respectful. Like, I know we all want to get our piece off, but ain't nothing biased about John. And as a matter of fact, I ain't fucking biased, and I agree with a lot of what he said. It's like you letting a lot of this shit fly over your head. His whole basis was not just the fact that Terence Crawford threw him. That wasn't his whole basis of his argument.
That's what he said.
No. I said that wasn't the whole. He did say that, but he said a lot of other things. And then when you came back at him, you said the basis of your argument. So he gave you a lot of other reasons. But here's the thing, man. Kell Brook, you just mentioned the fucking Jeff Horn shit, which is how you kill yourself. Now, I agree with some of the things John said, but Ayob, silly ass, who's always coming at me, just said this in the chat. And then it was funny to me because as I was getting him on this, you ended up saying it on this panel. You guys are validating what I'm trying to tell you about the weight drain. Yes, Terence Crawford was able to manhandle Jeff Horn like that, okay? And you guys validated with the fact that he went to 160 because this is a guy who shouldn't be at 147. Hence, he was drained to get there. Kell Brook shouldn't have been at 147. Hence, he was drained to get there. You validate that with your own arguments, fam. That's why Jeff Horn went up. So hold up. That's why Jeff Horn went up so high. Hey, Obbs, you idiot. Because you always trying. I ain't on no bullshit. Stop it. That means listen, I said that Jeff Horn beat Manny Pacquiao because he was so fucking huge, fam. The dude was not meant to be fighting at no 147. People look at Errol Spence and talk about fucking weight drain, but then they see guys like Brook and Horn, who's literally bigger than Spence, but don't talk about weight drain. Are we kidding? Are we kidding here? Weight bully this Spence, weight bully this that Spence. And these two guys are bigger than Spence. And you guys don't get it? He was fucking drained, fam. It's not a knock on Crawford. It's a reality of boxing. This is just the state that the boxer was in. He was fucking drained.
Okay, I get that. I get that. Look, that's your opinion. You're saying that the brother was drained, but my whole thing about the Jeff Horn, it wasn't just Jeff Horn. I meant everybody that Bud's fought. Everybody has fought on his resume. And like everyone, either the people that were taller than him, some of them might have been stocky, some of them have been taller but lanky, but just overall, everyone that he's fought and everyone who's tried to rough him up, or anyone who's tried to like physically move him around, none of them have been successful doing that. All right.
Because they're
So
not
why
better
should it be
boxers.
any? Hold up. What'd you say?
Let him finish.
What'd you say? What'd you say, man?
No, go ahead and finish your
Don't
statement,
let me
man.
interrupt.
Don't
My
worry
bad.
about it.
No, okay, because I wanted to answer, man. No beef. Look, my bad if I use some foul language. I'm
No,
not
no,
trying to
just
get
gotta
your
be
channel messed
respectful.
up, bro.
No, you cuss.
Yeah.
Fuck nothing. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, yo, bro. Yeah, but nah. What I'm saying is that Bud Crawford is like everyone that's trying to rough him up. It wasn't just Jeff Horn. I just used some guys who I knew that were big, like the Jeff Horns. You know, you can go look at his resume and see, but you know, the taller guys, the bigger guys, the strong guys, they all been supposedly bigger and stronger than him. None of that really mattered when they tried to get physical with him because I feel like he's trained. And like I said, the guy that I was debating with just now, he said that the basis of his argument, he said, and the main reason why is because Bud was easily able to move him around and kind of handle him. And he also said that you win those type of encounters, not with so much with technique, but just being the bigger guy. And I said that's not really the case. If that was the case, then you know the very biggest sumo wrestler would always win. The very biggest any type of physical, it takes
Well,
more than just that. It takes
I
technique.
need to come back on that because you're missing my point
Okay,
altogether.
and
Right, so size isn't a direct indicator of physical strength. That's the first point. It's actually the person with the most physical strength actually has a significant advantage in the clinch. And the bit that you're missing of what I said, and this is the fundamental point, Sean Porter could not move Kell Brook. Kell Brook out-clinched Sean Porter. Sean Porter is a tremendously strong welterweight who's very good at the clinches. Are you disputing that point?
well, I mean, my answer in response to that is that what does that say about Errol Spence? Because Errol Spence was moving Sean Porter.
Yeah, but
So my whole
we don't.
point, my whole
Let's
point.
keep it in relation to Bud and the rest, right? Like we
No,
said.
Okay,
but
well,
this is
okay, well,
about the difference in Kell Brook. Yeah.
okay,
So
but
I think
so Kell Brook,
most people would
okay, so Kell
agree
Brook was able to move Sean Porter, right?
he won by
Okay,
clinching. He
yeah,
won that world title
1-2
through
jab,
clinching
jab,
and
hold,
clinch.
1-2
Yeah,
hold, right?
exactly,
Yeah, clinch.
exactly.
But I don't think he was so
Bud,
because he was able to
Bud,
grab. He wasn't throwing Sean Porter around. He was grabbing him. He was grabbing him.
All
He
right,
was
but
grabbing
we
him.
got it.
all right,
He
we're
was
just going
grabbing
around
him.
in
He
circles
wasn't
with
tossing
it.
him around.
To me,
He
it's
was
an
grabbing him.
indication. All right, I just
Bro,
don't think you're seeing my points. I'm just
He
going
didn't
to
get it.
leave it
No, I
there.
see your point. But what
But
I'm saying is
the
go ahead,
thing
John.
I
manhandle
think
Sean
you're
Porter.
missing out of this is I like Terence Crawford a lot. I think you're missing that altogether. The way you just laid into me about being biased in the UK. I think I like Terence Crawford. I just don't think this is a very good Kell Brook. That's it.
Well, I never said it was Kell Brook at his very best. But to your point, going, you know, jab, you know, giving him the one, and then when Porter gets close enough, then you grab him, right? That's not manhandling him, right? Because I'm sitting there looking at it right now. Porter was like swinging him, trying to get him off him. It's just that Brook would not let go, right? And Brook is a strong welterweight. Brook was a strong welterweight, right? And also, I think you're not putting in account that you're not giving, you know, I think a lot of these guys are not giving Bud Crawford credit for his strength, right? It has
I think
nothing to
Bud
do
is
with
strong.
very much so.
I
Very
think he
much
is
so.
strong. I think the fact that he's skinny belies how strong he is. I've seen some of the things he lifts in the gym. He's moving some serious weight.
What's that?
Size isn't a
Because I have
direct
never seen any.
indicator.
I
Size
haven't
isn't a
seen any of the
direct
guys that.
indicator of strength. But I've never seen anyone ragdoll Kell Brook like he was getting ragdolled by Bud yesterday. If you watch how he
They
just had
wasn't
his way
ragdoll. They
with
were
it,
actually having a
he
stand.
had
They were
his
like
way.
a chess match.
Go ahead, John.
Every time
Finish
they clinched, he just turned him. I'm gonna leave it there. If you disagree, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad, but I don't know what fight. Like I said, I just watched the fight again. The first few rounds were a chess match, and you would see that they were basically, it was like a jab contest, and Bo was trying to see how to get in there. And every time Bo would get close, he'd get hit with the jab because Kell Brook has a very, very good technical, very straight jab, and he's very much so accurate with his punches. So Bud was going to get hit. That was a part of it, and so and I don't think his performance was bad. It was pretty good up to the point where there was when Bud switched stances and started giving him different looks. But up until that, I mean, everybody. I was watching the fight live. I saw people's comments. There was nobody saying that Kell Brook was drained or he didn't look right in the fight. Everything changed when Bud Crawford made a transition. He switched up. He started to do some things during the fight, right? Which is probably his biggest, not just the athletic ability and strength and all the other shit, is the fact that he can do that. Most fighters don't do that. And a guy like Errol Spence doesn't do that, maybe because he doesn't have to, because he could just walk everybody down, right? But what I'm saying is, so I'm not going to say that Errol can't do that, but what I'm saying is that's one thing that Bud does that I really don't see anyone else really do, right? Something that's very much so cerebral and very much so something that's mental, right? This isn't me trying to uplift Kell Brook and act like this was just the greatest victory ever. No, what I'm saying is people should keep the same energy. Mr. Jefferson, I don't know what you were saying before the fight. I don't know. You might have just been like, Kell Brook looks drained. This is going to be an easy fight for Bud. But the majority of the boxing community was not saying that. Everybody was like, place your bets, put money down. This is ridiculous. Kell Brook is a great fighter. Kell Brook does not look drained, right? I would say like 90% of the boxing community was saying this guy did not look drained, right? I was watching the fight live. I was looking at the comments. My bad. I was going. I just wanted to try to get that out because I'm not hating, brother. I'm definitely not. I'm not hating.
Yeah, I ain't even calling you a hater, but 90% of the boxing community, I ain't sure, fam. Because I was on live. A couple of my people was on live. A couple of guys that I talked to, Brian Harkin, a lot was saying the same thing that I was saying prior to the fight. That Kell Brook would look good. As a matter of fact, the live that I was on last night, Buckshot. Before I say this, let me shout out Cataccord with the super chat. She said, and listen to this, Buckshot. You do trust the doctors in the medical industry that you visit if you get sick. You do trust them, right? Buckshot.
I know. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not getting any vaccine shots. Yeah, I got you.
She in the medical field, so just check this out. This is what she do. Right? Weight drain affects your coordination, gas tank, movement, power, energy, among other things. It doesn't always reflect physicality, or doesn't always reflect physically. The damage is more internal. Brook looks solid until Bud fucked his whole life up. Okay, so appreciate the super chat, but this is what I'm saying, fam. No, we could go back and forth about this. The reality is this, man. There's certain things you can look at a guy. If you've been watching this sport long enough, and I myself smoke, we've been watching this sport 40 years or more. And if you've been watching this sport long enough, something I'm gonna tell you, you can look at a guy and tell if he's drained. Just because you suck down a lot of Gatorade and Pedialyte, don't mean you're gonna put back what you took away when you drained yourself down. No one is saying that Brook wasn't doing good before the fight. This is what I said on live, fam, when we were giving our pre-fight predictions before the guys walked in the ring, that the first 1 to 3 rounds, Brook would look good. Crawford would figure out what he's going to do, and he's going to beat the shit out of Brook because he's drained. Not after the fight. I was saying this before the fight. Now, coincidentally, Crawford did it a lot earlier than I thought he would. But to me, it just solidified the fact that Brook was drained. And I was giving Brook more credit than he actually had, because to me, he was more drained than I thought he would be. When Crawford, and then in the third round, Crawford switched to that southpaw stance, and he started doubling up that jab. And it's like she said here, your gas tank, your coordination, your movement, your power, all of that shit started to fade on Brook. It started to fade on Brook. And I never thought that it would happen to Brook that early, but it did. So coupled with Crawford, so Crawford adjusted on him, and he started to drain at that point, which means he had no chance. He had no chance once that happened. So it's not to take away from what Crawford did, because fighting him in the orthodox stance, Crawford found better results fighting him in the southpaw. So once he switched on him, and Brook started to show these things that you show when you're fucking drained, that's why that fight went down the way it went down. Not because Crawford didn't have skills, but because I'm going to take it to the extreme and say this is one of the worst Brooks we've seen because of his conditioning. He didn't have that power. He didn't have that explosiveness and that shit that he had on other guys that he fought because he was that drained. That's how I'm looking at it. But I knew he was going to be drained coming into this fight. I gave him no chance. I said Crawford's going to win one way or the other, late stoppage or decision. I said that before the fight. He's going to win one way or the other. I see no chance for Brook winning this fight because he's going to be too drained to get to 147. He had a problem draining 3 years ago. No way you people should expect him to make 147 safely 3 years later, at the age he is now. This is what I said before the fight. And then he comes into the fight looking drained to me, and I'm supposed to hear, oh, it's all about what Crawford did. He's not really drained. Get the fuck out of here. The dude was drained.
Okay, all right. Look, man, it's all good, bro. I very much so respect your opinion, and I appreciate y'all letting me on your channel. No beef, no worries to anyone in here. But one thing I want to say on my way out, brother, you said that you predicted that Kell Brook was going to look good in the first few rounds, and then eventually Bud was going to take over, right? Isn't that how all Bud Crawford fights go for the most part?
Yeah, for the most part, but I did also reiterate that if this was a Brook that wasn't drained, no, I wouldn't go down like that. I told Brook would have took him to the limit. Brook not drained. Brook takes Crawford 12. I'm convinced of it because he's shown too much durability throughout his career. But when you drain, you lose all of that, man. You lose your punch resistance. You lose a lot, bro. And so I was like, Brook ain't gonna be able to hold Crawford off like that. And I figured, Lace, I was a dumbass for not even picking a stoppage round. I was just like, fuck it. I was giving Brook more credit because of how tough he was. Look, this is something I couldn't fathom, Buckshot. And you don't have to love DGG or like DGG or anything. But this is something that we have to accept. Terence fucking Crawford don't hit harder than Gennady Golovkin, fam. Like, he just doesn't. And the type of punishment I seen Kell Brook take from Gennady Golovkin with getting his fucking orbital bone cracked and still not dropping, it was nothing in my mind that told me that Terence Crawford could do what he did to Kell Brook. It was that punch that Terence Crawford hit Kell Brook with to wobble him. Wasn't like none of the punches this dude took from DGG. And he stayed on his feet. So that shows you the drain, the punch resistance, the less fluid around his fucking brain, fam. Like, it was easier to rattle that brain because he was drained down. That's just a testament of why it was easier to rattle that brain.
Yeah, I get your point. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with agreeing to disagree. But like I said, as far as the punch and analyzing that punch, I think it was a very good shot. And also, I don't think that Kell Brook saw it coming because keep in mind, and also the punch placement where he caught him at. And it's not like he knocked Kell Brook out off of his feet. But if those ropes weren't there, he probably would have, fell. Because for two things, Kell Brook was letting his hands go at the time because he punched. He actually hit Bud with a straight right because Bud was in the left-handed stance. But Bud caught him with the lead hook. And pretty much he caught him with all of it, right? Kell Brook was running into it to throw his right hand. Right, and also the punch placement, the way he caught him, and when he hit him, he turned him around just like he turned around Mean Machine, just like when he hit him. It's the way Bud punches his opponents, but anyway, the way he caught him, he ran into the ropes. So it's not like he hit him so much different than Triple G. It's just the fact that the punch placement and the fact that he was not expecting the punch. He was coming in with his right hand, that lead right hand. He wasn't expecting that right hook. He was expecting that left hook. I mean, he was expecting the left straight. But anyway, the way he caught him and sent him to the ropes and turned him around and sent him to the ropes. In other words, he stunned him. He didn't knock him out, right? Bud still had to finish him against the ropes. And even then, the ref came in and gave him a standing 8 count. So but it's not like he did something that Triple G didn't do, right? It's not like he took Kell off his feet or some shit like that. He caught him with a good shot and stunned him. And as Kell went to the ropes, then he finished him. And then the ref gave him a standing 8 count. And then Bud came back and finished him. So Kell Brook still had his bearings. He still was upright. He didn't fall to the ground. So I think he might be exaggerating as far as how effective the punch was. I mean, so it wasn't like Triple G, and also Kell Brook wasn't 160 pounds, right? So you got to put that into account. But like I said, man, we all could agree to disagree. I feel like it wasn't so much that he was drained. I think it's the shot that Bud caught him with. He didn't see the shot coming, and where he caught him with it at, and also, like I said, he made those adjustments, right? Because you said something and maybe your circle said something, but overall, there was more than enough people in the boxing community that would lead you to believe that Kell Brook had a very, very good chance. People were betting on him, not just because he was the underdog, but also because they felt like this guy's big. He's bigger than Bud. There's no 10-pound IBF weight stipulation. This guy has proven he's fought. Arguably, he's fought definitely better competition than Bud. He's fought 2 boogeymen in Triple G and Errol Spence. So there was a lot going on there as far as experience goes, and also what he still showed in his most recent fights. It's not like he fell off after he sustained the injuries in 2017 versus Errol Spence. He didn't fall off. He went to a bigger division and fought guys who were bigger than Bud, taller than Bud, stronger than Bud. He was able to handle their punches. He never got dropped in any of those fights. He never got hurt in any of those fights. So it's not like.
Do you realize you long-winded as hell, fam? I don't allow nobody to cut nobody off, but dog, you like go on like the Energizer Bunny, fam. I ain't even. You know what I mean?
I'm charged. No, I'm charged up. My bad. I'm charged up, bro.
What you said. The thing with everything that you said about what Bud did is correct. And I think there's another point that you've missed. I think he came out fighting orthodox because he knew Kell's best punch was the straight right. And he learned from the Mean Machine that you could get caught in the southpaw stance. I think the adjustment he made was partly the timing of it was because he felt the steam coming off Kell's punches. And that's why he switched to southpaw, because he knew it was the right time, because Terence is very clever. The shot, as you broke down how he caught Kell Brook, is completely correct. However, in the past, we've seen Kell have better powers of recuperation. So it's a combination of Terence doing everything as well as he possibly could do. But you can't move away from the fact that Kell was probably weight drained as well. And that if he wasn't weight drained, he probably would have fought on for longer. So it's a bit of both. Okay. I think it's closer to the middle of Terence couldn't have done anything any better than he did, and he can only fight who's in front of him. But that is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the Kell Brook that fought Sean Porter. It's not. It's just. It's not.
Of course not. Of course not.
He's legitimately a shadow of himself. He's got a metal plate holding his face together. He's been unable to safely make the 147-pound limit for a long time. People in the UK, they've been questioning his ability to do this before he fought Spence. They've been talking about him moving up to 154 before he agreed to fight Triple G. It's been spoken about for a long, long time, and he's 33 now. And he's yo-yoed as well. He's been up to 160, he's come back down to 147, he's gone up to 154. All of that takes its toll. And all the indications are that Kell is shot as well.
Yeah, well, man, look, I ain't trying to convince Bud Crawford fans of nothing. I ain't taking nothing away from Bud stating the obvious about Kell Brook, regardless of what they think, man. Fuck that. You're gonna even assess, bro. If y'all look at the mediocre amount of freaking promotion they put into this fight, even when you go around, people were literally looking at Sean Porter and Errol Spence fights to assess Kell Brook. And that just shows you how ridiculous this is. They were going back 6 years ago and 3 years ago to assess Kell Brook. It just shows you the ridiculousness. which in the last 3 years, the man's had 3 fights at 154. There's inactivity fighting at a higher weight class. And they don't even want to entertain the fact that the dude was drained. So to me, it's like it's no need to keep talking about this because like 3 years ago, the man had problems making weight against Errol Spence, and he has a 3-year stretch after that being inactive at 154, and they don't even want to entertain the fact that the dude was weight drained. It's just the sport of boxing.
entertain it, bro. I entertain it.
Sport of boxing we talking about.
So
Yo, D, I entertain it, bro. I think you're right. I don't think he was weight drained. Well, I know that he had to cut weight, but what I'm saying is, brother, he had a long time. Remember how I said earlier, way in February, bro. He knew he was gonna fight Bud since then. In February, bro.
Buckshot, is February longer than 3 years ago? Because 3 years ago you had a problem making 147. So you can give me this February shit, but 3 years ago he was draining to make 147. And he's not 23 or 25 like Tank. The dude's 34 years old. And 3 years ago, he had a problem making weight. So I don't care about February. If he had a problem making weight 3 years ago, what the fuck does February matter?
It matters in the sense that he knows what he has to do, and he has a long time to be able to cut weight. Right?
What does that have to do with being too big for the weight, though? If he's too big for the weight, he's too big for the weight.
Problem making weight. Know that they have to cut weight. They know that they have to cut weight. It don't fucking change the fact that they got a problem making that weight, fam. It doesn't matter if they know it or not. This is why you move up. Teofimo knows he has a problem making this weight. This is why he's telling the world that I'll probably have one more fight at 135. So the fact that they know doesn't mean a goddamn thing with the fact that they will still physically have problems cutting that weight. The knowledge of
that's a good point.
They have problems cutting that weight.
I see what you're saying. That's a good point. Y'all have a valid point with that. I just know that like I said, I don't have any problem conceding if I was wrong or I may have been looking at it from
wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong, my nigga. Look, you're right. You're actually right.
I just know if this your last shot, and you're 34 years old, it's your last shot. Like,
And I want to say this, Buckshot. All of you Crawford fans that are saying he had a spectacular performance, you're correct. So I'm not saying you guys are wrong about that. He did. Well, we expect to see Crawford have a spectacular performance because he's a pound-for-pound fighter. So I expect this from Crawford. But what I'm saying is the Brook he fought, the Kell Brook he fought, he wouldn't have had that type of performance if Brook wasn't drained the way he was. That's all I'm saying. Would he have still beaten Brook? I still would have picked Crawford to beat Brook. Crawford's better than Brook.
Yeah, I think Crawford would have beat Brook no matter what. But I'm looking at how he KO'd Kell Brook, and it's you know why it's different than the way that Errol Spence and Triple G did. It was because Kell Brook initiated the exchange and the precision of the way Crawford threw the punch. Kell Brook, I mean, I could screen share it so we could all see it and watch it. That way, maybe we could, you know what I'm saying, see why he KO'd him.
I don't think he's striking me.
The issue to me, it's the fact that hold on, let me just finish. It's the fact that Kell Brook threw his weight first into Crawford, so he helped Crawford KO him. And all Crawford had to do was switch that jab into that left hook right on the button, and that closed the show. So it wasn't like Crawford is stronger than or more, hits harder than Triple G, or no, it's the precision. It's the technique and the way he did it. Like Kell Brook also helped because he was initiating that right hand, throwing his weight into the punch, and then he got countered. It was, I mean, if you just watch it, you could see it. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's what I said earlier.
Let him finish. Smoke. You won't finish. God damn it.
So when you guys are talking about the weight, right? We also need to be honest. Like, let's all just be honest as Crawford fans. Salute to Afro C's, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, in my opinion, it's gonna play a factor, right? But we don't know exactly how much of a factor. But he was complaining about making weight before he even fought Spence, right? That's, you know, when they were talking about him fighting Jesse Vargas, he was talking about, you know, the weight, and then he went up to fight Triple G, broke his eye, then he came down right after, and we know what happened with Spence. So 3 years later, and then if you remember this Safari fight, he was cutting weight close to welterweight to prove a point, like, hey, I can make welterweight. And that version of Kell Brook, you know, that didn't look like the Kell Brook that we were accustomed to. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, yeah, it probably played a factor in the fight. But if you watch the way Kell Brook was KO'd, it was because he made a blatant mistake. He threw his weight into the punch, and Terence Crawford, being Terence Crawford, made him pay for it.
Unbiased. With that being said, I want to tell you this. If Kell Brook wasn't drained the way he was drained, I think he could have made that mistake and it wouldn't have hurt him as bad. That's what I'm saying. Correct. I think he could have made that same mistake, but he wouldn't have been hurt that bad.
Right, and also like where he hit was in also an old injury, right? So the check hook was great. He was definitely reaching. He got hit with a check hook, reaching. Cool, all that's great. But Kell Brook is not a welterweight, right? So we talk about how Mikey Garcia is not a real welterweight. Kell Brook is also not a real welterweight. I think Mikey Garcia would have knocked Kell Brook out last night.
It was on the button though, Smoke. It wasn't on his right eye.
But what I'm saying is I think Mikey Garcia would have been able to hit him on the button.
Well, if you hit anybody on the button, they're gonna get knocked out.
Well, I mean, if you don't have it, Lomachenko hit him on the button.
Can I ask y'all something?
No.
I disagree with you, Smoke.
Yo, D.
I just want to say this real quick. I'm talking about, like, yes, the punch resistance. If you want to say that played a factor, I mean, sure, I guess. But when you're getting hit clean on the button like that, the weight resistance kind of goes out of the window. Even if he was a natural light or natural whatever weight you're fighting at, when somebody hits you clean on the button like that, your lights could go out.
Man, I've seen fighters in the weight class where they belong, and you have to, unbiased, get hit flush, clean, on the button with a good shot and keep coming.
But did they see the shot though, D? Was it a shot they seen?
Yes, we see that too. And if you ain't seen that buckshot, go watch some more boxing. We've actually seen that. This is called guys with good chins. They get hit, shot, they don't see coming. Bah, the shit rocks them and they keep coming. That shit happens. What I'm saying is,
it's not like there's a one punch knockout either.
God damn it. Jesus. But if there is a guy that is traditionally tough, resilient, has punch resistance, and this type of thing happens, nah, bro. I gotta put it on fucking losing fluids and fucking losing muscles around that fucking jawline. That has to matter, fam. I'm not taking anything. Bud placed the shot great, perfect. But the thing is this: that man's chin, his face, any orifices above his neck was not the way it was supposed to be because he was drained, fam. Like, come on.
So you think that he was drained to the point to where 3.5 rounds into a fight that he was just like he couldn't take a punch? That's what you're saying? Like all the punches he took before that, right? He seemed to be fine. This wasn't like in the middle of the fight or in the late round.
Everybody's acting like he got knocked out with one shot.
Yeah,
right. Like he got stunned. Like he got stunned. He didn't get knocked the fuck out. He got stunned, bro.
Yeah, right, and then he got a standing 8 count, and then he was in the corner with the standing 8 count. After the ref, like, hey, well, that's all good. I'm good to go. And then he got hit with another thing that sent him into a damn. Then he just had no more even defense of himself. He was just actually in there.
Kind of quit, in my opinion. I mean, I don't want to say that about him, but it kind of looked like after that he was like, you know what, I'm kind of done, man. Whatever, I gave him my shot. You know what I'm saying?
Now see, look. See, this is the nonsense. This is the nonsense right here. See how people just can't admit that shit? Cat, I love you, but you full of shit. Yes, he was drained. Yes, he was drained.
He's not a 147 guy.
We gotta accept this, man. I'm not really talking to you, Buckshot. I'm not really talking to Unbiased. I'm talking to this idea out here. This is the idea that I'm talking about out here, that he was not drained. If this is where we're going to go with it, these are the people I'm talking to. Because I'm not trying to take anything away from Crawford, but they're trying to make him a full-fledged Kell Brook. And that's simply what was not in the ring with Crawford. That was not a full-fledged Kell Brook in the ring with Crawford. And if you can't admit that he was drained, you believe it was a full-fledged Kell Brook in there with Crawford. You want to give him the respect for fighting a full-fledged Kell Brook, and that's just not honest.
See, here's the thing. One of the reasons why I wasn't intrigued about this fight going into it was I hadn't seen Kell Brook at 147, and he was talking about the problems he had making weight. Not even 3 years ago against Spence, but 4 years ago he gets for it, right? The dude was big for the weight back then. He fought at 160 one time. He fought at 154 3 times. The guy is saying to everybody, to the entire world, to anybody who's listening, I am not an actual welterweight. If you want to see me at my best, it will not be at 147 because I cannot make the weight comfortably. I can't fight comfortably. I'm not the guy at 147. Too big for it. So, right, the fact that he can make the weight at 147 doesn't mean that he can actually compete and you get the best version of him at 147.
Somebody got some crazy feedback.
To piggyback off that, the thing is, why are people denying like physiology? If you move up and down in weight class, it takes a toll on your body, regardless of whether you feel comfortable at one weight class more so than the other. The fluctuation will always take a toll on your body. Why are people debating this? This is physiology. It's not a matter of boxing. It's just human anatomy stuff.
I agree. That's why I said, hey, it, definitely played a role. It's something you really can't deny. But I wanted to say this because, Earl Spence kind of came out and said and admitted that, it was tough for him to make the weight at certain points in his career. So now my question for you guys is, are we going to say this if Bud beats him too? Like, are people going to say, well, he was, saying he couldn't make the weight and it was the weight cut? And
because Spence, when did Spence miss on the scales? Spence, with the interview with Brian Costas, the one you're talking about on Bias, I did the live on it. What he said was he had those problems making weight because of how he was treating himself in between fights, ballooning up to 85 and 90. Remember, he's keeping it at 165 now. And yes, it's still a problem to cut weight, but it makes it much more difficult to do it that way. He spent half of his camp cutting weight instead of training and sparring like he was supposed to, right? That was the difference. But this is a Spence who's been fighting at 147, who belongs at 147 until he moves up. Brook didn't belong at 147. He wasn't supposed to be there. Spence is supposed to be here until he misses on the scales like Tank little fat ass or have a problem like that. He ain't done that. Right? When he have problems on the scale? Yeah, no problems on the scale. So he belongs.
I agree. I mean, but
I've heard guys do as their career progresses, they move up. This is natural, right? As you get older, it becomes harder to cut that weight, which is still another reference to Kell Brook struggling to make weight and the toll that it will take on his body. So it's a natural progression, obviously, as we all know, for guys to move up over time as they go through their campaign.
Also, I mean, what Spence said was that severe weight cut affected his performance, right? So there's also that, right? Once you're cutting weight like that, it can affect your performance, especially if it's a guy who hasn't fought there, right? He's just not a welterweight. He's just not.
Right. No. My statement is about Spence, not Kell Brook.
No.
I'm computing that yes, Kell Brook probably did have weight issues in the fight. I'm not saying he didn't. I'm saying since Earl Spence is openly saying yes, in previous fights, like you just said, it affected my performance because of the weight cut. But he also said that he's going to get it under wraps. So my thing is, if we don't even know if he's the same, that coupled with the weight cut, if he is maybe if he
not disciplined.
Exactly, if he's not disciplined enough, can that be an excuse later on if he does get beat? Is my thing. You know what I'm saying? Because
No,
he didn't move up in
Yeah,
the
it'd be
weight,
his
but
fault. It would be his fault,
no,
right?
no.
Because he ate himself into that position, right? It's not like Kell Brook who's just too big for the division, right? It would be if L Spence balloons up to 185 is because he's been at the table eating that barbecue, eating that good home cooking down in Texas,
He
right?
ain't been in no fucking 180 nothing first and foremost. But since that fucking interview, I've been following him and looking at his fucking work. Look, the dude has been keeping himself down like he said he was going to do. All right, like this is what he said he was going to do. The accident gave him an epiphany. It opened his eyes up to whatever. Hey, I'm taking his word for it because every time I see him training or something, I just seen an interview a couple of weeks ago with him and Derek Dames being interviewed. The dude jawline is chiseled. He's in shape. No puffy face. None of that. I haven't seen none of that in all of the interviews I'm watching with him. He don't have no puffy face. It's chiseled. It's chiseled. Like I was saying about Tank before the fucking Leo camp. The dude was already in shape. So maybe these guys are deciding to stop fucking around with themselves. After this fight, Tank didn't go party and the little motherfucker went right back into the gym. That's something different than what we used to seeing from Tank. Okay? Let's not condemn guys to be the same person they're going to be forever. This is something different we're seeing in these guys.
So D, like you said, so maybe maybe Spence had you said like a resolution or also type of epiphany or revelation. He decided not to to take his health more
that. I didn't say
right.
that.
Okay, no, but I know I'm responding to what you're saying. You think it might be possible also that Kell Brook decided to have that same mentality for this fight?
Ooh.
Yes, listen, Buckshot, he could have had that mentality. But if your body says you cannot make weight, you can't make weight, Buckshot. For some reason, it's like.
But he did make weight.
Listen. Let me rephrase it. If your body says you cannot make weight without draining, Buckshot, then you cannot make weight without draining. Okay? You can't say, oh, I decide I'm going to make weight without draining this time. And you're fucking 34 years old and your body says, no, the fuck you're not. It don't work that way, fam. He couldn't make weight without draining 3 fucking years ago. So I don't care what he tells himself in fucking February, fam. 3 years later, he ain't going to be able to make weight without draining.
Okay, so why was it? Okay, all right, I got you. I see what you're saying. I got you.
Yeah.
No, wait, I gotta ask you. I gotta
Like seriously, Crawford is that dude. I'm not saying Crawford ain't that dude, man, but we gotta stop saying Brook won't drain. Like, come on, guys, he was drained. How many people unbiased? Come on, keep it real, unbiased. How many people said Brook was drained when he fought Spence? How much did I have to listen to this shit that he was drained when he fought Spence 3 fucking years ago? Now they don't want to admit he was drained when he fought Crawford. Are we fucking serious right now?
Yeah, because maybe he wasn't drained. Is what I'm saying.
Oh my god, dude. Okay, that's good.
D, I'm fucking with you.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying. You said that dude had. You said that Spence had an epiphany. Like what? Kell might have had an epiphany too. I'm just saying.
Yo, bro. Okay, dog.
Hey, right. The difference is
Kell Brook is too big. You said that Kell Brook
is too big. Errol Spence was eating. 2 separate things. Kell Brook is not a welterweight. He is a 154-pound fighter, but he's not very good at 154. He's got short arms, and he can't adjust that well. So he's going to get his noggin cracked at 154. So even though he can make 147, he is not at his athletic peak. What is being described as drained, that's what we're talking about, right? Instead of being at 100%, he is now, because he had to go down to 147, he is now at 87%.
But Spencer said that he hasn't been 100% in many of his fights because he walks around at 185 and 190.
Yeah, because he
also said in the same
because of his diet, because of his habits, not his frame.
Smoke, let him rock, Smoke.
Okay, all right. So in that Brian Custer interview, right? Don't get me wrong. I've seen plenty of interviews where Errol Spence is, because Errol Spence is a pretty honest cat, bro. You gotta respect that about him. But I've seen in multiple interviews where he's talked about his weight, not just the Brian Custer interview, which is recent, but just just period, right? But
his weight is caused by
hold on. Let me get this last little part out.
Bro, stop cutting this man off, dog. Come on, Smoke.
You thinking he was done? That's it.
Okay, my bad. But nothing, because you know what it's like. It's like talking in circles. So I'm gonna let you do your thing, bro. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Right. The thing with Errol Spence is that he was ballooning up in weight because of his diet. The same like the thing that D was saying about Tank and going to 135. It was his diet, not because of his body. Like he is not actually his frame is not actually a lightweight frame. He's kind of small. All the stuff that makes him great at 130 don't translate up to 135 because he ate his way into 135, right? And that's what Errol Spence would have been. If Errol Spence got into a ring at 180 pounds with a light heavyweight, he just would have been a fat Errol Spence. It wasn't. It's not about. Once he gets his eating habits in order, he can actually be at 100% at 147. He can, once he's done with 147, he can build muscle up and be at peak at 154. But at this point, he can be damn near close to 100% at 147. Not Kell Brook.
Says who though? Says who?
Kell Brook.
Errol Spence could fight at 150. He could have fought at 154 years ago. He would have been perfectly fine. He's the one that he said himself that he chose to go to 147 because that's where the money is. And also at 147, he's pretty much bigger than everybody else. Let's go down the list of the other fighters at 147.
What does that have to do with being 100% though?
Hold on, Smoke. The same way Crawford was at 135 or 140 because this is what boxers do. Spence just staying there at an extended period of time. I won't argue with that. But, of course, he stayed there at the extensive period of time because the way the PBC moves. It takes him 5 years to finally get a fucking title fight, right? Because he's over there at the PBC.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I agree because I know that's why I never really felt into that side of the street shit because the way they did Spence when he first got there, bro. Like it took for him to fight somebody else in a non-PBC fighter for him to get a big fight. He had to go and get it like basically himself. Nobody else wanted to fight him on his own side of the street. So
because he was not the top guy, right? He was fourth in line. He was fourth in line, and it's one division, right? Terence Crawford was able to do what he did in multiple divisions. He wasn't just sitting in one division waiting for a title shot with no title shot with guys who had titles already ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But what I'm saying is nobody wanted to play ball with him. So, of course, he should have went up and weight. That's what all the other legends have done before him. That's pretty much an unwritten rule in boxing, basically. But what I'm saying is he chose not to. Like the brother D. Jefferson just said, he chose to stay there. So, because he chose to stay there, it is what it is.
He had no belt at that point. He had no belt. Like, move up to 154 with no belt because while Keith Thurman is injured? Like, what good would that have made?
Crawford didn't choose to move up to 147 until he freaking cleaned out 140. So don't expect Spence to move along when he don't have a belt. Like, come on. You gotta, it's not even about the belt. He in the weight class to accomplish and achieve. Because Danny Garcia, Porter, and Thurman want to fight each other twice before they even offer him one fucking fight. He just got to stick around till he can at least get his hands on one of them. But what happens? Brook from across the pond steps up before any of these three idiots. Like, come on, man. This nigga started with the fucking politics of this dumb shit. Now, Cat, you said, I'll say this. I didn't say he was drained when he fought Spence. I just said Brook is healthier fighting Crawford because he's injury-free. It was fast. Okay, that is the fact that he's injury-free. But let me tell you this, sis. You didn't say he was drained when he fought Spence. That don't fucking mean he won't drain. He was drained when he fought Spence, and he was fucking drained when he fought Crawford. Just because you didn't say it, you sound like punch drunk. Well, I didn't give him an excuse for this. Okay, well, that's fine. You kept it consistent. I'm not challenging your consistency. It don't fucking mean he won't drain. He was drained in, and he's definitely drained now. Because he was drained in. You know why he was drained in? Because he won't meant for the weight 3 years ago. So ain't no goddamn way he was meant for the weight 3 years later at 34 years old, man. He was drained. Whether you said it, he was fucking drained.
He's also damaged goods now, right? Just the same way he was damaged goods then.
Right.
He's even actually more damaged goods now because now he got 2 broken 171.
And drained down. So he was even more damaged in this fight. Let's keep it all the way real.
That's crazy, man. That's wild.
That's true. It's not facts. He had one orbital socket injury.
Punishment accumulates
over time. He has 2 now. Right? Is that right or wrong? Hold on. Is that right or wrong? He had one, just one with Spence. Now he has two. Is that right or wrong, Buckshot? He has two orbital socket injuries. Okay,
right.
now hold on.
Okay.
He was drained 3 years ago. Now it's 3 years later when he been fighting at 154 and actively. Only 3 fights in 3 years. So he's a little worse in that area. Correct?
Nah, not
I mean,
really. But I'll say
okay.
yeah, so I can get to what I'll say yeah, just so I
I'm
can
just
get to
saying,
that.
like, so we're not making up shit here either. It may not be things that support the other side's argument, but it's not like we're making these things up. This is what discussions are about. People bring these points to the table, then others bring these points to the table, and then that's a discussion. We're not making this shit up, fam. I don't have any problem with Terence Crawford. I'm not these fucking Spence lovers, and I don't even like the fucking PBC model, so it's definitely not that either. I'm just trying to
Yeah,
bring
D.
the reality to the sport, fam. The
Yeah,
reality
D.
is that Terence Crawford is great, but Brook was drained. That's it. Not taking nothing from Bud.
Okay, about the my whole point is the difference. There are some differences between his fight with some negative differences between his fight with well Errol Spence's fight with Kell Brook compared to Kell Brook's fight with Bud Crawford. And the main one to me is that the amount of time between the two fights, between his loss versus Triple G, where he was just coming off an injury and he still needed to get like the fight had to get pushed back a couple of months because he still wasn't ready. And like that's not, but in this case, his face had time to heal. The surgery and everything happened. His face had time to heal. He was able to go back out there and fight, even at a bigger weight class than he originally fought at, against bigger guys, and he didn't complain about or he didn't sustain any type of injuries, and no one questioned, whether his face will still bruise because otherwise he wouldn't have fought. And that's the major difference. So he wasn't coming off a loss. He wasn't coming down from two weight classes. He wasn't coming off a fresh injury where he had to file for an extension because he still wasn't fully healed. So those are differences that are very much important and prevalent to the fight that happened last night, bro. The fight that happened last night, this dude had like more than enough time to get ready for that fight, and that's why he didn't struggle on the scales. And even after the fight, where he normally makes excuses, just like he made excuses versus Triple G after the fight, and he made excuses versus Errol Spence, he didn't make any excuses. He didn't complain about being drained. The only thing that he said is that he wished he let his hands go more. But like I said, this was the very beginning of the fight. This was 1/3. We didn't even get 1/3 through the fight. This was only 3.5 rounds into the fight, and he looked good prior to Bud making the switch and catching him with that perfect shot. I mean, prior to that, he was lumping Bud up like he had Bud eye closing because Bud was eating that jab, trying to figure out how can I get in there until Bud made the proper adjustments. So even though you're saying that for a fact he was drained, he never complained before or after the fight that he was drained. He looked good in the fight prior to it. Even the biased ESPN announcers were all saying that this guy was winning the fight. 2 of the 3 judges had him winning the fight before he got stopped. And it was so early into the fight when he got stopped, like he didn't show any signs of being weak or being drained. Besides the guy from the UK that said that Bud Crawford was throwing him all around the ring, which was, not the truth.
Buckshot, you don't. When you drain, you don't keep your energy as the fight goes along. When you're weight drained, you will start off a fight looking energetic. You will start off a fight with all your energy. And as the fight goes along, that starts to wane away. Now, pay attention to what you're saying. When he came into the first 2 rounds, the rounds which I gave him as well, I had about 2-1 prior to going into that 4th round. When you're weight drained, you come in energetic. You come in looking fine. But this motherfucker, that changed in the 3rd round. It changed for 2 reasons. Wait, Cat put the super chat up there, bro. I wish I could put it back up. She said it affects your coordination, your gas tank, your movement, power, energy when you're drained. So from round 1 to 3, you could see some of that start to fall away. His coordination, his timing. Crawford was starting to hit him more. Then he switched stance on him and made it worse for Brook. That shit already in round 3 started to wane. These are signs of being drained, my friend, because he did start off looking great. And he started to wane away that early. This is why a lot of us that knew Crawford would win, because I'm one of those that knew Crawford would win and figured it could be a stoppage, right? It could be, right? I knew this. We thought that it would happen later. We thought that these things that Brook showed less of earlier, we thought that it would happen later. Because I said before the fight, Crawford's gonna adjust on him, switch up, see which stance is the best for him to hit. I said right on Corey Lee Live, bro. I was doing the damn fight live. I said this exact thing. I said he's gonna find out which stance is better for him to attack Brook. This is what Crawford does. I expect Crawford, because he fights so fluently and orthodox and southpaw. I expect him to switch up on a guy and use the stance that suits him more properly to beat the guy, which is what he did. I expect to see that. But what I'm telling you is what Brook had to offer coming back was less. From round 1 to 3, it was less and less. And round 4, it was pretty much evaporated. When most of us thought it would probably take to round 8 or later for that stuff to start to evaporate. And Crawford could probably get stopped late, like 9 through 12, or Brook would be tough enough to go the distance. So to me, to you guys, Cat, bless you, sis, but he wasn't drained at all. To me, he was more drained than I thought he was. Because I gave Brook more credit.
To me, that the way that Brook reacted to that check hook, that seemed like that face is injured. I mean, you could call it injury free. First off, fighting nobodies at 154 does not mean your face is all good and you can take a good shot from somebody who actually can crack, right? And give Bud whatever credit. He's stronger than he appears, and he can crack a little bit. It's not like he's not on a knockout streak for a reason, right? But the way that Kell Brook reacted, it wasn't so much from like the force of a punch to me, but the reaction to a guy who was injured, and especially when he hit him again. He was just like, when you go down like that, it seemed like he was protecting his head, kind of. You're not trying to get hit in the spot, right? Anyway, I'm just saying, if you're gonna say the guy's damaged goods, like everybody knows he's damaged goods, and everybody knows the guy's too big for welterweight. So really, what are we trying to argue here? And when it comes,
man? This is the entrance.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
The entrance. I don't care.
Okay. All right. Somebody put their phone on mute. I think they're having some altercation.
I got it.
And as far as Kell Brook's early success, yeah, he had some early success while Terence Crawford was adjusting to what Kell Brook was doing, but Crawford wasn't actually even throwing shots. Like there was a minute and something gone in the round before he threw a single shot in the first round, right? So the first 2 rounds, he didn't really do much. He didn't turn it up. He started doing stuff in the third round, and as soon as Terence Crawford started to fight, it became that was the swing round, and then the very next round, he got him out of there.
Brother, like it was supposed to be a slugfest. That's how they both fight, though.
I didn't say
but I'm saying
I've never seen Terence Crawford punch where he went a full minute without throwing a punch.
Right, but in the earlier rounds, Bud doesn't throw a lot of punches. Like literally, he's trying to fill you out. Like the fight went exactly how most Bud fights go.
But then why we say if that's the way Bud fights, why are we crediting Kell Brook for success?
Because Kell Brook was actually successful. He was hitting them with jabs. He was hitting them with just like we gave credit to Mean Machine when he was catching Bud Crawford early. Just like we gave credit to any, like, you know, any type of fighter. When the fight's early, it's a filling out period. It's not so much. In other words, it didn't. This fight didn't get past the filling out period because Bud made an adjustment in the 4th round, only 3.5 rounds into the fight. That's why I don't really lean too much on the weight drain thing. So even if he was like that early in the fight, I don't know. I like to think that Kell was strong. Kell sustained his injuries almost 4 years ago, well over 3.5 years ago, almost 4 years. It's not like his face is broken. No, there's plates in his or whatever, but like, come on, man. I mean, people break their arms, break their legs, and go to the hospital, even with no money. They have a fucking surgery, they get a cast on, and after about 4 or 5 months, like they're healed, like it's good.
Then why are we saying that he was injured in the Spence fight? Because that was a year before that, also. Like it doesn't make sense. Like here's the thing. if Terence Crawford usually doesn't throw punches, and he's throwing even fewer
because he
punches
wasn't
than
healed. He filed for an extension because he wasn't fully healed.
I got it. But you said guys break their leg and they come back 4 months later. He did
No,
not.
I didn't say anyone break
fight
their leg.
but anyway, regardless of that whole thing and how you want to switch it up, right? Because that's literally what you just said about broken bones in a few months, right? But forget it. Like the fight before that, he had a broken face. There's no disputing that fact, right? The issue now I'm having, and it's also he came down 2 weight classes. No disputing that fact either. Right. So in the fight last night, right? If Terence Crawford rarely throws punches in the beginning of rounds, right? It would stand to reason that his opponents are winning those early rounds, right? So is it a function of the greatness of their opponent, or a function of Terence Crawford doesn't actually throw punches in the early rounds?
I think you have to be accountable. You have to put into account both with the caliber of fighter that he's fighting, right? Because if he's fighting somebody that's totally trash, then Bud Crawford isn't a fill-out round is pretty much going to be that, just one fucking round, or probably not even that. If he's fighting trash, he's going to get Ocampo'd the way Spence did Ocampo. But if you're fighting a fighter that you have to be apprehensive about jumping in, if you have to be you have to be more cerebral with, right? A fighter who you know for a fact has fought 2 boogeymen in his career when they both were in their prime, right? A fighter that you know has power. You know that he's naturally stronger than you, bigger than you, and has fought at higher weight classes than you. Knowing that you coming up for 135 and your chin is still somewhat questionable to a lot of your haters. If you put all that to an account and you deduce all that, then nah. Then yeah, the caliber of opponent that you fight means everything. The caliber of opponent you fight means everything.
Kell Brook has never.
Hold on, Smoke. Jeff Horn and Calvi Alaskins was bigger and stronger than Crawford, but they didn't win the first 2 rounds flat out.
And then also,
Jeff Horn didn't win one round. I agree. But I was talking about the caliber.
Bud Crawford has never done anybody like Ocampo. Nobody. He's never went in there and destroyed somebody inside of like what are you talking? No, that is not how Bud Crawford goes. You said he don't throw shots in the beginning. There's no feeling out. He's not going in and getting people out like Spence did Ocampo. He went
because Ocampo's trash.
He went rounds with Horn. He went rounds with Horn. He got cracked early by David Benavidez. When they got into an exchange, he went a complete round with Postall. He went like there's not
my man, you reaching. I said depends on the caliber. I said depending on caliber of opponent.
You said okay.
I said Ocampo.
Right.
In other words, Ocampo.
Hold up. You interrupted me. Hold up. What you said was that when it's a caliber of opponent, it equals the length of feeling out round, and then just like when Bud, just as with Spence, got rid of Ocampo. Spence got rid of Ocampo inside of 1. The point is
exactly because Ocampo's trash. That's my point.
The point is Bud Crawford doesn't do that. He actually gives up rounds early, right? And in this specific fight, regardless of how he is generally, this specific fight, the guy didn't even throw a single punch until a minute and a half was gone in the round. So, like when you talk about Kell Brook's early success, it also has to be viewed through the lens of what Terence Crawford wasn't doing.
Okay, now that you finished, right? Because you really didn't say anything. My whole point is this, right? I use the Ocampo analogy because Ocampo is fucking hot trash. He's hot trash. So Errol Spence went through him easily. That was my point. When Bud fight those caliber of opponents, he's got rid of them quick. But that's back in the day when he was much younger. He fought those caliber of opponents. A Mean Machine, you can't compare a Mean Machine to a fucking Ocampo because there's no comparison. Mean Machine would knock Ocampo the fuck out. Ocampo was a 21-year-old Mexican kid who had never fought outside of Mexico, who was fighting in barns and shit like that. You just validated my whole point. If you fighting a trash fighter like that, you don't need a filling out period that's gonna take rounds and rounds. You see what I'm saying? That's why I used the Ocampo analogy.
You're conflating everything. First off, Ocampo was like 2 fights ago. It wasn't years and years ago. It was 2 years, 2 fights
I
ago.
said Bud Crawford when he fought those
Right, you
caliber
said
opponents. That's when he was younger, years and years ago. I'm not
okay.
talking about ever
Right.
Spence.
I don't understand why you're trying to throw Spence into
Caliber
this
of
thing.
opponent.
Here's the thing.
Okay,
Here's the thing. The caliber of
hey,
opponents, right? If you wanted to, I don't
time.
understand why you.
Hold on, smoke,
You
smoke. Hold
so
on,
you
hold on.
so infatuated with trying to prove that you're right and willing
No,
to.
man. Listen, I'm talking about this
No,
fight.
hold up. I keep putting you on mute. You keep taking yourself off. I'm doing it for a reason. Hold the fuck up. God damn it, bro. Y'all two motherfuckers gonna have to understand. Y'all cannot yell over each other. They can't hear you in the chat. They can't hear you. I don't really care what your argument is. I'm trying to let y'all rock. But y'all keep going and arguing over each other. They cannot hear you in the chat. So go one at a time. I don't give a fuck who goes first. Just stop trying to yell over each other. This shit don't work, man. Go ahead.
Cool.
Smoke,
All right,
buckshot,
cool.
whatever.
But again, you keep forget Ocampo, right? Forget trying to throw Spence's competition or even Spence in this altogether because it has absolutely nothing to do with what we witnessed last night. And really, you keep deflecting from the fact that, but you cannot give Kell Brook that much credit for the early rounds, given the way Terence Bud, the way Bud Crawford fights traditionally, and also how he fights generally at 147, and specifically how he fought last night.
You know what? When you're right, you're right, bro. I feel you. You're right.
I don't think Smoke right. Fuck that Smoke. I'm your Huckleberry. That's bullshit.
Okay, cool. Cool. So then argue for Kell Brook's early success and Terence Crawford not throwing shots, right? He wasn't throwing shots early.
No. I'm just fucking around.
How you don't get what I'm saying? This shit is like, this is so fucking easy to understand. The caliber of your opponent depends on how you like that determines how you approach the fight. If you fighting someone that you're supposed to get rid of, you're going to run through them. If you fighting someone that you should be weary of, like it's crazy, bro.
And hold up, Smoke. It's a gray area. It's a gray area here that neither one of you guys are trying to fucking acknowledge. To a certain extent, y'all both right, fam. Like the caliber opponent does very well matter. But also, if you have a habit of starting off slow, then it makes it easier for your opponent, no matter what fucking caliber he is, to score. Because you're not going to be throwing, and he is. So there is a gray area here. That both of you guys, I guess, if you're going to keep going back and forth with this, are not realizing. Buckshot, you have to realize that. If you start off slow and process information or whatever the fuck, then that's a greater chance for your opponent to score and you not score because you're just trying to gauge what he's going to do, see how your feints work on him. You understand? That's a part of boxing. So, but Smoke, if it is a higher caliber opponent, then they're going to capitalize off of you not being willing to do those things. So, in a certain extent, y'all both right. But what I'm saying is, hold on, Smoke, because let me just get this ending piece off, and then you can take off.
Okay.
If Buckshot, if Crawford has the tendency to start off slow, and he is in there with a higher caliber opponent, then it's probably less of what that opponent does and more of the fact that Crawford's not going to throw as much.
Right. So here's the thing. Here's really the issue, the crux of it all. He has, unless you're saying, I don't know what you mean by higher, because it seems like he's done the same thing for every single fight he's had at 147. So I don't know if you're saying Kell Brook is a higher standard of opponent than Kevin Velasquez or Benavidez or Horn or Khan, but he's pretty much started off slow. And then, and not only that, he's pretty much had to come back from it being down in those early rounds. Does that mean Kell Brook is better or worse than those guys? Is Kell Brook a higher level of opponent? It seems like he's the same level of opponent. Maybe you're saying he's a higher level opponent because Terence Crawford didn't throw a punch for the first minute and a half, but that doesn't change the fact that he still doesn't throw a lot of shots early.
Yeah, it don't change that, but Smoke, that's fucking bullshit. Brook is a better boxer than those guys. Let's fucking stop it right now.
No, I mean, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I just didn't get it.
My turn, Smoke. No, fuck that, because you said it, so I'm going to clear this shit up. Kell Brook is a fucking way better boxer than a non-boxing Jeff Horn. I'm not gonna hear this shit about Jeff Horn because I've said it over and over again. That dude can't box. He's a C-level fighter at best. So Kell Brook's definitely a better boxer than him. So when we talk about higher level opponent, let's not gloss over or dismiss the fact of them being a good boxer. Brook is a better boxer, which makes him a higher level opponent. Let's not start getting off the bullshit about them being drained and all of this.
No, I agree.
Okay,
I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you, D. I don't. Yeah, I don't think Jeff Horn can fight. I totally agree with you.
All right,
Dude
so,
can't jab. He jumps on his thing. I totally agree with you. But the issue, right, is it seems like Buckshot is saying that the reason why he wasn't throwing shots was because of the level of opponent with Kell Brook, but he wasn't doing the same thing against Jeff Horn, right? So, but I got a jet. It's been cool, like talking to you.
I do too. So wait, Smoke, give me some closing thoughts before you jet, because I'm getting ready to go.
Oh man, it was a pretty anticlimactic. I think the discussion was better than the fight, actually. And I can't wait to see what Terence Crawford has next. And I'm gonna probably damn near want to throw up in my mouth to hear the promotion of it from Bob Arum.
Yeah, it'll be slim to no promotion. Buckshot, give me some closing thoughts, fam.
Hey man, I just want to say everybody hit the like button, man, and everybody subscribe, man. Damn.
Appreciate you coming through, Buckshot. Man, I want to say this. Terence Crawford's the motherfucking man. Ain't nobody taking nothing away from him. With Catacor, Kell Brook was drained. Just accept it. Kell Brook was drained. That's all we saying. And I don't think this fight means any more for Crawford than any other fight he took after he won that goddamn belt from Jeff Horn. This is nothing more than another title defense. It is not a litmus test. It does not mean that Crawford is any more than we believed he was at 147. He is the same solid, valid champion at 147 as he was before he fought Brook. This Brook win is worth no more than a Benavidez, a Kavyalaskas. It's no more than that. It's just a Brook, another title defense. If he wants to prove something and step up, fight Sean Porter. Fight the winner of course, Spencer and Garcia. Fight you guys even. But at this point, Kell Brook being drained, Kell Brook being not the fighter he used to be. At this point, he is less than your Dennis Ugas to me. I think Dennis Ugas offers more problem than a drained Kell Brook at 147. And I'll leave it at that. Doesn't mean that I don't think Crawford would be your Dennis Ugas, because I think he beat your Dennis Ugas. So it's not to diminish Crawford, but it's just to understand. Oh yeah, pound for pound too. He's pound for pound. God. So it's not to diminish Crawford. It's just to understand that the Brook he fought was not the Brook that provides to be a litmus test at where Crawford stands at 147. He still has not fought a top 5 guy at 147, and that's because the guys won't step up, but he still has not done that. And Brook doesn't cover that because he was top 5 6 and 3 years ago, but he's not top 5 now. He's not even supposed to be at 147. That's what the Crawford fans got to understand. But outside of that, congratulations to Crawford for another impressive title defense at 147. And appreciate all you guys coming out, listening to D-Jeff yak on and on about this sport we love called boxing. My man JD Bud beats them all one by one. I hear you, JB. And y'all know how I always end this thing. For the love of sports, let's talk about it. Peace.